Hey everyone, this is Ben from the Gorge with Ben and Sara, and you're listening to the BS Podcast Network. This is The Gorge! It's a podcast where my friend Sara and my friend Saturn gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a topic.
The Gorge is brought to you by Patreon. That's patreon.com/thegorge, where for just $5 a month you gain access to not one, but two podcasts. That's Hell You're Walking Into, which only actually costs you $2. A monthly podcast where I trap Ben in the basement of Chaldea, and I make him learn about class typing and what a moon cancer is.
And not even like the cool basement that's like finished. I'm in like the boiler room.
In the boiler. You're in the library. And that's Hell You're Not. Sorry, the other one. Takeout. Nope, that's the correct second one. A monthly commentary track where we watch things and talk over it because we just don't feel like playing it instead. If you think that sounds like a good time, then head on over to patreon.com/thegorge, where you can sign up. We really do appreciate all of you.
And if we established some new goals recently. If you help us get to $200, we get The Bad Game, which is a bonus monthly stream where Sara and I play some really garbage video games. Mm-hmm. At $500, we have The Bad Film, which is we will do a commentary track for the original Joss Whedon cut of Justice League.
Why would you do that to yourselves?
And at $1,000, we will sit down for 4 hours straight and watch and do a commentary track of the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. If you're looking for an excuse to shell out approximately $1,000, if you've got $1,400 in stimmy money burning a hole in your pocket,
if we just
you found the mission.
If we can just get one person to give us their entire stimulus,
yeah, then
that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. If you are Joe Biden and you're tired of me talking shit about you on Twitter, then this is the way to get your revenge that doesn't involve drone striking my house.
If you're Joe Biden and you're very tired from constantly burying dogs that wander on stage, maybe kick your feet back and relax and pay us $1,000 so Ben and Sara will talk about the Snyder cut.
Yeah, because that's the only way I'm going to watch a 4-hour movie directed by Zack Snyder. I'm sorry.
So
you will have to pay me $250 an hour in order to make that palatable.
So Joe Biden is not paying us right now, but these lovely people are. We've got Holy Star 64, Nyan Hellcat, Patrick Perez, Roddy 1/2, Faso Toby, Saturn, you're on this list. Alice Marks, Shia, Magus, Aquamancer, Jack, Liam Lane, and that other one dude. Thank you guys so much for all of the help you give us.
And as you've probably noticed, because you're reading the title of this episode, hey, we're back for 13 Sentinels. One last time, God willing. And we've brought Saturn along one last time.
Who's Saturn? I'm just this strange little cat that seems to be paying you so much attention. Did I just talk? Oops.
I'm a sarcastic cat.
You say your name is Saturn McNeilson instead of Saturn McNelson. You're a completely different person now.
Yes.
Had your memory wiped, and this is the only way to keep your brain from melting from the force of your memories.
Oh, me? I'm Ben the Gorge Podcast.
Oh, God. Okay, so this is the last one.
Yes.
It is.
Let's commit to it and get real serious about getting through these character stories in a reasonable time.
We are going to, Ben, please tell me you have some kind of idea in order to give us some structure.
I have the 13 pilots and the 2 who aren't good enough to be pilots on a list. Right. So we're just going to go down and talk about them as if they're regular JRPG party members, like we normally do for like a Persona or a Tales game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'll just see how long it takes us to get through all 15 of these little punks.
I think we should set a time limit.
I agree.
Because and here's what I think, and this is gonna sound crazy. I think it has to top at 10 minutes per.
I agree.
Okay.
I think
Because there's 15 of these little brats, and that'll be...
I've got a 10-minute timer.
Okay.
Can I set this to just be silent, or does it have to have a thing for it?
If it rings, it adds kayfabe. It's fine.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, having it ring is probably a good idea so that we have like an audible way to tell us to shut up about certain characters.
Okay.
Also, no obligation for it to actually go for a full 10 minutes, because I feel like for at least one of them, sorry Tamao, we will be at she does not appear in the game for 10 entire minutes.
True.
You know?
Right.
All right. So first off, we'll just do. I'll announce them, and then we'll go down the list here. Jiro Karabe, who I dubbed as Mecha Pilot Shiro in the first episode.
Correct.
With his dramatic catchphrase of "Damn Kaiju."
His dramatic catchphrase in the middle of battle. Most of those that don't make any sense.
So I will start the timer, and then we can go for it. Okay.
Cool.
And go.
All right. What a delightful dumb boy who they eventually sold me on. It took a while. I was worried because for a while I'm like, I get it. Like, I get why he's being so rude to Yakushiji, because Yakushiji is a very strange creature. But also I'm like, bro, do you see how much food she's making you every night?
She's making your favorite hamburger steak. Don't you like hamburger steak? Here, have some more hamburger steak, please.
I promise there's no poison in it.
It's fine. Look,
Jiro didn't work for me at first because I was like, this is the protagonist. But once I realized that he's not, and that's actually a different character who we'll talk about probably pretty shortly, he worked more for me as just like the one boring weirdo. Like, all the other weirdos are, like, kind of have really goofy gimmicks, but Jiro's just sort of boring. I appreciate him. It's kind of like if Luke Skywalker was like a secondary character in your party.
Right.
He really is a lot like Shiro, not only in terms of, like, his characterization, but also in terms of my attitude towards him. Mm-hmm. Where it is just like, he's the protagonist, but, like, just by nature of the setting, every other character is more interesting because they all have a gimmick, but he's like the MC.
Right.
But then you discover what his gimmick is, and it's like, he's right along there with them.
Yeah, his gimmick is that he has a very convoluted plot situation happening on with being not exactly reincarnated in a different way than anyone else is, but his prior incarnations being more of an active nuisance in his own life, which is to say, one of them specifically being a terrorist who is now a ghost brain hacker.
Who's
so
also
that's
a cat.
fun. Who's also a cat and is also something else. Also, his friend Kitashiba.
Yes, his best friend as well.
His Ben Diskin.
Yeah, his Ben Diskin. I guess this is also like because we've created a problem where we're like, we're going to talk about these characters, and then I'm like, well, wait, how are we going to talk about Morimura and in Jiro Izumi? And I guess this is where we do that, because otherwise, this episode will be another 6 hours long. Which
you got to fold the 2188 cells into this discussion.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's why Jiro Karabe is cool, because he's also Jiro Izumi, who's like this completely deranged terrorist who's like, I think would have been a better Jiro Karabe if not for the fact that Jiro Karabe is not supposed to be the main character of the story.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
No, it
in the version of
does.
13 Sentinels where Jiro Karabe is the main character, he would be Jiro Izumi.
Right. Where he'd actually
Which is to
be
say,
cool and interesting.
Which is to say, Jiro Izumi is the Zero Escape game version of Jiro Karabe.
I'll play them eventually, I swear.
This is my pitch for you.
They're on the list. But no, I do think it's extremely funny. I think we brought this up even last episode. I do think it's funny that Izumi gets like a relatively happy ending, all things considered. I mean, what with the literal teenage murder he does at a pretty pivotal moment. It's like, you just did some some real murder, huh?
You did
a lot of gunning 16-year-olds down.
Well, it's fine because those teens don't exist anymore, and they're not real anymore, and their version of the world doesn't exist anymore. So really, who can say he killed any one of them?
As we've established, those versions of those 16-year-olds are in a corpse pile somewhere on a planet 20 million light years away.
They just got ejected, and then they're done.
It's fine.
There's a really conspicuous mound of bones behind the pod facility, and they're in there somewhere near the top.
This just occurred to me, but the idea of that, like, of just, like, ejecting, like, unceremoniously ejecting the dead body clones out is very Rick and Morty-esque.
It's so grotesque, I know. I can't stop thinking and laughing about it.
You heard it here first, folks. Jiro Karabe is Rick and Morty.
He turned himself into
Well, he did...
a cat. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Well, no, I mean, like, he did... Like, he was nearly reduced... Like, I have his mystery file pulled up real. It says, he sustained brain damage and was nearly reduced to an empty husk. Yeah, he did almost turn himself into a pickle.
Shut up!
Because he fought so hard in the kaiju that he almost pickled himself. I mean, that's what happened.
Pickled his brain, yeah.
My standout moment for his story was actually not even one that was in his story. Mm-hmm. It was the scene where he goes to hang out with Shu Amaguchi, because Shu Amaguchi's version of that scene is the one where you realize that Kyutoshiba isn't there, and it's a really well-delivered twist that works with the framing of the game really well.
Yeah, the game does that a handful of times. If you're playing it in different phases, it'll do that a handful of times where it goes like... It'll show, like, shouldn't Shiba be here? So if you're not playing, like, Amaguchi's story, and you're playing someone else's, you'll notice that, like, Shiba isn't there. And, like, and it's so subtle, like, most of the time, that maybe you'll even think, like, oh, Shiba's just already left for the day. And then it'll click with you and go, like, oh, you bastards.
It was that specific scene that got me in general, because, I thought it was hilarious and a neat touch that in the Juro version of that scene, if you walk in front of the TV, Kyuta yells at you to get out of the way. Because he's playing a game. And I was like, oh, that's a neat touch. And then that scene played later, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Nobody's yelling at me.
Wait.
That entire scene, I spent too long in that scene, because, like, come on, Kyuta, come to dinner with us.
Okay, so that...
This is a triple date, you're allowed to come.
That is one of my standout moments in the game, too, because, like, that does feel like high school friends hanging out after school.
Right.
To me is, you go and you are at the age where you're allowed to, like, go to a restaurant by yourself now. Mm-hmm. And hang out and stay out late, and it's like a new freeing experience for you.
And you have a rich friend who's paying for all your meals. Yeah. I didn't have that experience in high school, but I wished I had that experience in high school.
But I can imagine what it would have been like.
Shoutouts to all the people who are currently in high school who cannot have that experience.
Yeah, sorry everyone.
RIP, give it some time.
Yeah.
Good luck getting your vaccinations, everyone.
The other standout scene I have with Juro is the scene where he is clearing out warning messages on his mech's HUD, on his Sentinel's HUD, so that he can see better.
Oh yeah, when Izumi gets to be like, Izumi is cool, like, yeah, despite certain past versions of himself being literal child murderers, like Izumi is cool, and his older version of himself is extremely cool because he's got a dope trench coat, and I'm an idiot who's extremely susceptible to that kind of thing. I still think it is very funny that so they imply that, like, the 2188 version of Morimura and Izumi are, like, in a relationship, but, like, at least from what I can tell, he's, like, much younger. So, like, good for you, Morimura.
I don't think so, because
he
oh wait, no. Oh right, the 2188. Oh yeah.
No, that's like a 60-year-old woman getting like a 40-year-old man. Like, hell yeah, girl.
40.
What?
optimistically 40. He could be younger than that.
He could be younger than that for sure. Like
he looks like he could either be like a 30-year-old or a really healthy 40-year-old.
I mean, he's like in the army or something like that. But Morimura, 2188 Morimura is like she could be I know she has like a son, and that son is like 25.
I think she's probably actually relative. Oh, her son's only 25. I was gonna say she could be relatively old because we know with the setting that like, you know, health technology is advanced to a certain point that like, you know, even Kengo and Gota were both like up there in the years, even relative to us.
Like Tamao is like 100 plus, right? Like she's 140.
Like 120. Yeah.
She would be she doesn't remember she's not that old because she only has the photographs of the house.
But
right?
like,
so she's not like super crazy old.
But no,
like, she's up there.
There's a cutscene where Keitaro 2188 and Natsuno are talking, and they're like, yeah, she's like 120 years old.
Yeah.
Damn, good for her.
Nanomachines, son.
Future magic or nanomachines, it's the same thing. It's like they mentioned that even in the game. But yeah, no, it's all the different iterations of Izumi are like really, really interesting. The whole back, well, and you know, I think we're about to run out of time. The whole backstory with like 2188.
Oh, we are out of time.
I was hoping it would be. I was hoping we'd keep this in. All right, fine. We're holding on to it for Yakushiji. Next character, Ben.
Next character we have is Iori Fuyusaka, who I called Nap Time.
Nap Time.
All right, give us the go ahead.
I will set the timer and go.
Main character of the game.
Yes, main character of the game, Shoujo Sweetie, character who we've talked about extensively, whose entire character arc is, man, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm surrounded by hotties, and this is super cool. Also, I'm piloting a giant robot now. All right. There was intrigue that happened, apparently, but I wasn't there for it, so...
literally missed all of it.
I love that, like... Because if you look at the timeline of the game, like, the scene where, Chihiro, where Iori first runs into Sekigahara is relatively early in the game timeline.
Right?
And then, like, the entirety of Sekigahara's story happens near the end.
I really like how Iori is like we've been saying, she doesn't really realize there's a lot of like intrigue shit going on, except at the very, very end of Sekigahara's story where she gets kidnapped by a robot and is like, oh shit, there's like stuff going on around me that doesn't, I mean, it does ultimately concern cute boys because Sekigahara shows up to save her, but like there's plot stuff happening around Fuyusaka.
But importantly is that, like, things happen around her, but she basically has no major revelations. And she fights, she does the 13-hour hell battle or whatever, and escapes from the simulation without ever really having understood anything that was happening at any point in time. She comes out of the pod like, y'all, did you see the robots? That's fucked up, right?
Like, looking at her bio on the Mystery Files thing, it's relatively short because all of the major events in her story happen to other versions of Fuyusaka.
Also, like you mentioned, like she meets A pretty early in his storyline. Then his entire storyline happens, right? But it's like she meets him. I think she just sees him before he gets the amnesia, right?
Yeah. Like,
that's the last time she sees him in her story is when he's like, all right, I'm going to go die from amnesia, bye. But, like, that's it. That's all she gets.
She meets him and then runs into him one more time because, God love her, I do love this child, because she meets him, like, twice, and then he saves her from some, like, you know, bullies. And she's just instantly like, no, I love you, it's fine, on his Decepticon motorcycle, which...
Yes, it's a cool motorcycle.
Cool, it's fair. I would also confess my love to somebody who had a Decepticon motorcycle, if I met somebody like that. And it's like, yeah, you know? And then he forgets all of it. And she doesn't realize.
There was a point very early on when I was in the game where, and this is, like, someone specifically, I think, referred to Sekigahara as, like, an outsider or something like that. But I remember thinking, having this thought, like, you know, Yori and A both have the same colored hair. Also Morimura and Tsukino. And I was just thinking to myself, like, are they aliens? Like, is that where we're going with this?
That's what I was thinking,
Are the blonde-haired
too.
characters literal space aliens? Because that's, like, a thing. You know, like,
Yeah.
like mythology, or like, not even mythology, just, like, popular fiction in Japan. Like, the people who live on the moon are these blonde-haired weirdos. And I'm just like, are they from outer space?
Well, yeah,
And
that's...
sadly, they... Well, I guess technically they're from outer space.
are,
because
yeah.
they're
They
being bred
actually
in a
are
cloning
space
vat,
aliens,
but,
yes. But I mean, they all
you know.
are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, because A mentions being from, like, another dimension. So I was like, oh, so is this, like, a dimension hopping story and not a time traveling story?
I think maybe that was his way of phrasing his understanding of, like, his understanding that the different time periods are actually different instances of the world.
Right.
Not that that's super relevant to Iori Fuyusaka,
No,
who I think, if I'm not mistaken, comes out of the thing maybe not understanding that there's even a time travel aspect.
Yeah, okay, so you know what? I was about to ask, like, does our Iori Fuyusaka ever time jump in the game?
I don't believe so. I do not believe so. No.
Oh no, this is the problem of it being a while since we played. But
Is it all?
I don't think she does.
Is it all her past, her previous iterations?
No, because she
No, she
doesn't go
does.
to the
She
future.
does. She goes to the ruined. She goes to 2065. I'm looking at the.
Oh, that's right.
event
Because
archive
when
now.
it's when Miwako disappears, right?
Yeah.
And gets
Right,
like yoinked by
okay.
universal control. Okay, but like
Yes.
that's it.
I
Okay.
forgot about that, but yeah, she
It's been a
goes
hot
through
minute.
most of the game barely interacting with the time travel part of it at all.
She just
It's
trying
really
to date a
great.
cute boy. It's fine.
I genuinely love, and it's one of my favorite things about this game is that there's space for a character, and not only a character, but the person who is ostensibly the primary character. Like the character who, if this were a single person story, like a single protagonist story, she would be the protagonist. But you have the space in this very convoluted timey-wimey space magic alien bullshit story for a character who basically does not engage with any of the main setting through points at all. It's super good.
Never has to actually learn what's going on ever.
And it's not like a joke either.
No.
Like you would have a gag character who does that maybe, but she's just like, I'm what's happening? All right, shit, okay.
No, I mean it's really good to help like set up the ultimate twist and the illusions of what's going on is by having this character that you play through, and she's a significant character, but like eventually it dawns on you that everything that's happened is in the past and is not affecting this particular version that you're playing. It's all done through flashbacks and through subterfuge of making you think that this is all happening to Fuyusaka, but then you finish the game and you're like, wait, she didn't do a whole lot.
Absolutely not.
Good for her.
Good for her. We stand a queen who don't do shit.
Except swoon over cute boys and get carried places by Renya Goto, and then is immediately like, "Oh, Goto Senpai's kind of cute."
Every time anyone touches her, she's like, "Damn, am I in love?"
Because that's right. Because Takamiya does it to her too.
Yeah, she Takamiya holds her hands or something. She's like, "Wow, you've got soft hands." And Iori Fuyusaka has this great moment where she's like, "What is this? I mean, I don't think I am, but I guess this is how I find out." Then
I'm okay with it.
Is this an awakening?
also, whenever she sees, I think it was Amaguchi and Kurabe chatting about their dreams or whatever, and she thought they were like confessing their romantic feelings for each other, and she's like, "Damn, y'all, you do you. Love is love." And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking
Oh my, wait a minute, Sarah, I don't know, Saturn, you might get this either, but I don't know is she the opposite of Green Madoka?
She is the opposite of the Green Madoka from.
I don't know that. Sorry.
It's okay. There's
I watched
character.
maybe 2 or 3 episodes of that show, and it's like, I'm good.
There's like a side character in Madoka who like misunderstands that the main girl and the blue girl are in love and is immediately like, girls can't love girls, and then runs off.
Great.
Yeah, great. So it's like the opposite of that. Yeah. Good Good for you. You're ostensibly living in 1980s Japan, and you're like, yeah, love is love. It's cool. It's fine.
It's cool. Sometimes boys kiss, and I get to see it.
I get to be privy to it. It's fine.
Don't mind me. I'm not going to interrupt this very crucial moment you guys are having.
What we don't get to see is the version of this where, like, the invasion never happens and they get to grow up to be adults in, I guess at that point would be like, she goes like another 16 years or whatever, and it's the 90s and she's writing the first internet fan fictions.
Oh, God. Okay, next character.
Next character. Let me restart the timer. Is Megumi Yakashiji the girl who was cucked to death? Timer set and go. I feel bad for Megumi.
Megumi doesn't get it the worst out of all the characters because,
Shinonome.
Shinonome exists.
Yeah.
But man,
boy,
Yakashuji gets it bad.
And it's her fault because she came on too strong right away.
Sure.
She blew it right away,
Absolutely. It was like, I've just known you and I love you instantly. That's cool, right? I can come live in your house, right?
Let me make you dinner.
I'm moving into your house. I conspired with your landlord that I can be allowed to live in your house with you, an unaccompanied teen boy who I am super randy jandy for,
Yeah.
Why do you keep spending all of your time at Shu's house?
Why? What, do you think this is like an awkward living situation? It's fine.
Also, this other guy is showing up and living here now, too.
It's cool. Poor Miura.
It's cool. You don't have to... You can pretend he's not there. It's just me and you.
Poor Miura had to walk into that situation. Thanks, Natsuno.
Yeah.
We'll get to you.
Natsuno, queen of reading room.
There's nobody in this game with better emotional intelligence than Natsuno Minami.
But no, I do feel bad because, like, she's in this situation that she hates and she wants to fix it, right?
Sure.
She's desperate to fix it. And a talking cat shows up, which is the worst kind of thing to show up in this situation.
I was gonna say, you just talked about Madoka, and
Yeah.
like, the talking cat for her is the, what's it called? Cube?
Yep. Actually, no, it goes deeper than that, because I don't think I've told you this, but, her English voice actor is Christina V, who is the English voice actor for Homura in Madoka, who Yakashiji is, like, blatantly based off of.
Yeah, because, like, you get this girl with the long dark hair, and this little talking fucking feline appears like, hey, sign a magical contract and I'll give you everything you want, and you only have to shoot people with this gun for me. Which is, she's like, that sounds suspicious, but okay.
And sounds good.
But on that same page, I really don't get her distress over shooting people, because it doesn't do anything, by her perspective. Like,
yeah, but for all she knows, she could be, like, injecting them with cancer. Which, like, to be fair, kinda.
I mean, a little bit.
To a degree, yes.
But, like, it doesn't appear to be, like, hurting them in any way, or, like...
It makes them collapse to the ground and forget that they were shot. That's really about it.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of stings.
And she always makes a big deal out of, like, actively confronting them about it, and it's like, just shoot him in the back of the head while they're not looking.
You're already doing shady shit. You do that to Kisaragi. You make sure you got her in a crowded room, and then you shot her when everybody was too busy trying to buy school bread.
What I think it was, and like, I don't usually accuse the game of being so cynical, but I believe that the start buttons all being in different parts of the body was a character design thing that came first, and they had to come up with a convoluted reason, not just for the start buttons to be there, but for them to all be in different places. Right. And the reason is that Yakashuji has anxiety about shooting people with a fucking, like, laser cancer gun.
That's exactly it. They came out with, like, actually, I've seen, like, the old designs for the girl characters in this game, and it's very interesting because it seems like at one point Yakashiji and like Miwako kind of looked the same.
I know,
Ooh.
I believe Yakushuji and Shinonome actually used to have their designs swapped.
Huh.
If I'm not mistaken. There's definitely
Okay.
two of the characters who used to actually be each other, like, looks-wise, but then they're like, no, this design is more appropriate for this character, so they
Right.
switched them.
Okay. Yeah, and so like I think you're right, Saturn. Like I've seen like the old
and
like
I
the
think
old
part of-
concept art where it's like, oh, they
And I
had
think-
this crazy like start button idea from the very beginning.
I think actually it is Shinonome and Yakushuji, because now I think about it, like, to jump a little bit ahead, Shinonome do be kind of looking like Rei Ayanami a little bit. Not in terms of, like, actual style, but, like,
Yeah.
sad-looking girl with the really bandaged
Bandaged.
head who kind of is, like, emotionally distant, but really, possessive of certain things kind of deal.
Yep.
So I think they did used to be switched.
That makes sense.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. Sure, that's her whole story, though. Is just like she makes contract with this evil cat who is also Jiro Izumi, but she doesn't know it. But he's like, hey, I'll make Jiro Kurabe Jiro Izumi again if you do these shoot bangs. And her whole thing is like, okay, I'm just gonna go through and start fucking zapping kids one by one as I am instructed to by this talking cat, because I am that head over heels for this guy who ostensibly is dead now.
and his current version doesn't want anything to do with me. It's
Yeah.
fine.
At least not until after, we get out of simulation, and it's like, hey, you're here and I'm here and we're both naked, and also Shinzo Abe is over there standing in the corner.
Oh god.
So like
okay.
she gets what she wants in the end.
She does.
Yeah, good
is
for
the
her.
important
No.
thing. Because also Jiro Kurabe does at some point, he's still Jiro Kurabe, but he's like, yeah, I have those memories now. So I'm like, I still have those experiences even though I'm a different person. She's like, that's good enough for me.
He's eventually.
works.
So she does end up getting what she wants. It's
Yeah.
just that what she wants is maybe caused her a lot of pain and is maybe not what is ultimately best for her.
Jiro,
Not
maybe.
think it through 100%.
Jiro's just like, I've gotten used to this, so why not?
She like I said, anybody who makes me that much food, sure, I would love unconditionally. It's fine.
I think also there is a degree to which, like, at some point Jiro Kurabe comes out of things like, well, there's fucking 15 of us, so,
So here's, I don't know, maybe I asked this in the first episode, I can't remember now. Do you think Megumi has bad eyesight in the real world?
I think she must, because she has the glasses on in the tank.
Because that sucks for her.
Yeah.
Because
You
they
know
won't
what?
be able to invent
You know-
glasses for a while.
You know what fucks me up about the tank, actually? Because we're mentioning it now, because she has her fucking glasses on in the tank. Morimura has her hair clips on in the tank.
Yeah, and Shinonome has her bandages on.
And, Tomi has her, hair
Glasses.
ties up. And she's like, did the clone machine put those in for you?
I think those are supposed to just be like hologram representations.
Because in the like the actual, god damn it, we started talking about the ending again.
I think, well, here's the thing. On one hand, I think it's very comical, but on the other hand, also, if you think about it, like, 50% of the entire game takes place in, like, the last 2 hours of actual real-time story.
Right.
Even though there is ostensibly 20 million years of events.
Right. But the point is that, like, when they actually show the shot of, like, Yakushiji and Kurabe out of the tanks together and they're both naked and they're like, hey, she's not wearing her glasses there. So I think it might be like part of the universal control projection.
Okay, because see, I know,
Thing.
like, the quote-unquote cockpit is supposed to just be the inside of the tube, which
Yeah.
is why they're
Right.
naked.
But I mean, like, it's still, like, that is...
I think
But-
it's for our sake to preserve the illusion a little bit more, to make it
Sure.
feel like it's actually them.
Boo. Tisk, Mr. Kamatami. I'm taking marks off of this game. It's only going to get a 39 out of 40 in
40.
Famitsu now.
One last thing though, 2188 Yakushiji is, I think, really unique because she's like the only one that is not a player in this game.
Yeah, she is utterly innocent. Like, she really had nothing to do with anything. And I really, really like, despite the fact that her and Fluffy have such a contentious relationship, I really like the ending that of like, when he is leaving her and giving her the Sentinel, he's like, oh, it was kind of like spending time with a very bratty daughter. And then you realize that, like, you know, we talked before about, I hope I'm not running out of time. We've talked before about how, like, we don't really like the Gnostic approach to relationships. But then you learn that, like, the original Izumi kind of took the original Yakushiji in. And so, like,
yeah, because he saved her when she was, like, a little baby. And she was the last person on board the satellite.
And so he, you know, it's just cute. It was just cute to have, like, this grouchy old cat be like, spending time with you was fun in the way that, like, going on a trip with your snot-nosed kid and bonding is fun. Mm-hmm. I was like, that was nice. That was cute. All right, Cat, you get to live.
All right, Cat, it's time for our 4th Sentinel.
We just in time too.
Oh, so good.
Our next one is A Sekigahara, aka Get Your Ass to Mars, and his catchphrase, How's the Sentinel?
Oh, A.
Let me start the timer, and go.
A.
Shut up.
We were talking about this earlier, but yeah, when you first do A's mission, and he's like, and it's like, I'm you from an alternate dimension. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We're adding alternate dimensions now? We're already doing time travel and paradoxes, and you're telling me someone went horizontal?
But no, it turns out that's just Future A's very dipshit way of explaining, hey, I didn't actually time travel.
Yeah, Future A, you could have been more explicit in your messages to memoryless A. You didn't have to make it so hard on the poor guy.
But Sarah, then how would we have the script happen?
I know. What's that over there? Is that the script?
Oh no, the script is ruined. Sorry, A, you can't actually read it now.
Palpatine's behind it all. I guess no, it's Kengo Ogata's behind it all.
What's that in the barrel? What's that in the walkie-talkie? Is that the script?
I do.
Oh my god, what's wrong with your nanomachines?
So, like, A, this version of A, this is like the one thing that I never really like connected all the dots on. He was hired by, like, the current version of Tetsuya Ida to kill Morimura, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The kid version of A was hired.
Yeah, I'm not talking about past A. It's just incredibly convenient that
the same thing happened again.
A is also an assassin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like this doesn't come up, but there's a part of me that originally thought like the reason that they're both assassins is because the real A was supposed to make sure that Morimura died a horrible death and then was uploaded into the simulation so we could also make sure that Morimura didn't get to survive as a clone in space.
Yeah. That's really what I thought was happening. I was like, this is a really, like, let it go, man.
And
just like, damn, people will really be hired killers in the post-apocalypse and there's only 15 people. Like, what are you going to do with that money shit?
Yeah. But no, he's got that bullshit where he's like, no, I always finish a job. And it's like, really?
Bro, there's 15 people left. Again, what are you worried about with the money?
Are you worried about your professional reputation, dog? I don't think there's going to be much of a need for your services.
There's nobody left on Yelp to give you a bad review, man.
On Hitman Yelp.
And you know what? This is the other thing I wanted to point out, and because I'm looking at his portrait now, into his 2188 portrait, and thinking about all the other characters. If there's like 15 of you left, why are you bothering with like the tailored suit and coat and tie?
Because like, you still have to have some kind of standards.
Well, the problem is he's so professional, he actually has the suit glued on and he cannot remove it.
He can't remove it, yeah. 2188's A Sekigahara can call me, however. Like straight up, what up? Like,
yeah, but you know, like, a lot of the 2188 characters can call me. I will field calls from like half of those motherfuckers at least.
A significant percentage of 2188 characters. Like, hey, what up?
Like, I don't know, maybe if I caught Renya Goto at like a couple decades earlier, he wouldn't have that horrible little chin beard, but like, you know.
Hey, Takamiya, I know you're like recently divorced.
But maybe want to be recently remarried too.
I don't mean,
Like,
I don't mind
shit.
being your recent rebound either.
Anyway, Asekigahara.
Oh yeah, we should probably.
So his whole story is like, oh fuck, I don't have any memories, and this version of me who's maybe an alien was like, hey, you don't have any of your memories, fucking figure it out. So he finds it out because he gets a box from Takamiya for some ill-explained purpose, or rather purpose I don't really remember. And then he just sort of goes around trying to figure out who the fuck he was and why he woke up next to a dead woman. Because he's like, oh, did I kill her? And it turns out the answer is no.
No,
luckily.
He got very lucky in that situation. But I do love... Yeah, he got Phoenix Wright lucky in that situation.
Yeah, that is a Phoenix Wright case, 100%.
He was very much in a situation where, like, fuck, I guess I killed this lady. But then it turns out the truth is no, he very sure was 0% culpable in the lady being killed. So good for him. You got out of this one, Chafe.
But I do like, you know, past Sekigahara's, like, here is, you know, you've lost your memory. Here are the tools I left you. One of them is just a string of numbers with no context.
I was going insane trying to figure those numbers out, like, in my head, like, what they... And I mean, of course, obviously you get your answer, and it's actually a pretty clever, like, thing to be like, oh, it was like a messaging system. Again, it's 1980, like 1984.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's basically a voicemail service that you can dial into from a payphone.
Yeah.
And so it's the number that you call and then the password for your account.
But
Yeah,
maybe you could have written that down too.
No.
No,
Then the
shut
script
up.
doesn't happen. Then his first chapter is like, well, I guess I got this thing that says I should dial a phone, so I'm gonna go dial a phone.
No,
But
he has
instead
to-
you have
he
to
has to
have him
waste,
go
like,
around
3
and...
Yeah, he has to waste like 3 episodes trying to figure out that it's a phone number.
And
get into trouble in the process.
the thing that like flips my shit about that is that, like, it's not like he like cracked the code by doing research. He showed it to a teenager, and
Oh, yeah.
she's
I
like,
mean,
yeah, I
that's called
recognize
being-
that.
That's called being resourceful, buddy.
But it's
That's
called
It's called
just-
trusting in Miwako, because
But it's-
Miwako is best girl and knows
When you're-
everything.
but it's
When you're a
just,
professional hitman, you need to work with what resources you have, and sometimes that means, you know, asking some random teen girl like, "Hey, do you recognize this sensitive, confidential information that I've written down on a piece of paper?"
But I do unironically love that, because, like, this is a thing that would only be a mystery to him.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and
It's true. I guess to everybody else it really isn't a mystery. Be like,
Yeah.
Idiot, yeah.
the circumstances lead him to that he cannot just ask any random person because he doesn't know who he can trust, or why would he even need to ask anyone about a string of code he found? But
I think also the funny thing is that part of what's confusing about it is just the fact that it's not written with any of like the dashes or parentheses or whatever you'd expect of someone writing a phone number to be legible. It's literally just a sequence of numbers. Like it's kind of a her story situation where he's just sort of, I am going to make this deliberately obtuse just to fuck with myself.
But I like that. I think that is like a great sense of dramatic irony for this story.
Right.
Is that if you know, it's that thing where it's like you would never do the simple solution, but it turns out that it is all you needed to do.
It's just ask somebody else.
Yeah.
It is funny though, because like speaking of the codes, there's a 4 number in there, right? I think it's like, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know there's like I think there's a 44 in there. And so I thought it was years for a minute, like, because you can go, you know, you're traveling in 40-year intervals to, you know, 1984 to 1944. So I was like, oh, is this like weird
Like a jump sequence or something?
Yeah,
Is it like the code to open up the shifter that lets you go?
Like
Has he been to
coordinates?
other? Is it coordinates? Has he been to
if you-
other years?
If you jump between the 5 sectors in a specific pattern, it forms a pentagram and summons the devil.
No, it's how you speed run.
Yeah.
It's how you speed run beating the Deimos. You have to shift in a very specific number of times, and that lets you clip all the way to universal control and clear
just
the
turn
level.
it off.
Well, what it is if you do it enough times in sequence quick enough, then you rewrite the game's code and it becomes Pong.
What happens is you summon Missing No, and then the value of Deimos is set to 0, and they just sort of delete
themselves, and that's time.
Yeah.
That's an AGDQ record. Congratulations.
Yeah, Epic Pug Champ on our super fast speedrun of Isekigahara's storyline. That's basically what happens. At some point, he saves Morimura, or not even more. Yori Fuyusaka, excuse me.
You're okay. Same thing.
Some of these characters have multiple names. From an android who is also Tetsuya Ida, and puts him in the ground, figuratively, I guess, because Tetsuya Ida is actually just still alive in Universal Control.
Right.
But it's when the bastard is finally killed.
Yes.
When we're finally free of Tetsuya Ida being the worst ever.
And then that's when he gets in his robot, and I believe that's the end of our time for him.
That is it. Yes.
Heck yeah. Who's next?
So, next we have Natsuno Minami, or Scully, you're not going to believe this. And Time. She was my favorite story, bar none.
Oh.
I thought Natsuno's story was great. It was my favorite one.
She's
my
best
favorite
girl
character.
She would be my favorite character if Kisaragi was not in this game, but she's second best girl for sure.
I think I like her a little bit more than Kisaragi.
I
respect you.
I love hers because she has the same combination of Iori and like Ryoko, where it's like you do you experience a lot of the plot that's happening, but because
her character who does not understand it.
Yeah, her perspective is so warped from reality that she does not she sees what's happening, but she doesn't contextualize it right.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think the problem is she's so enthusiastic about jumping into the mystery that she just violently misunderstands everything that's happening to her through the lens of other things that she's watched to fit with her preconceived notions of what the alien menace might be like. Which is why she meets BJ and she's like, this is an ET and not like, oh, this is a highly advanced machine life form that might be from the future. She's like, no, it's a space alien.
Yeah,
I know it just took me to the future, but it's just a normal space alien.
My literal favorite part of Natsuno's whole storyline is that she basically every single time she is given new information, she invents wildly incorrect backstories for all of it. She's like, yeah, BJ isn't, and I mean, like, it actually turns out she's not entirely incorrect, but she's like, yeah, now BJ is an alien whose brain is in a jar, and he pilots this robot, and the robot body is just like his teeny tiny body that lets his alien brain get around, and she's just completely invented, like, her own sequence of events of what is going on. She's living in her own universe 100% of the time.
What makes her so relatable is that she exemplifies the experience of what it's like to play 13 Sentinels.
Yes!
And she's just sort of encountering reveals and being like, is this a pigeon?
She's the best audience surrogate.
It's true.
Because she's the one who's like, wait, what the fuck is happening? Hold on, I have an idea of what's happening. I think I know what's happening. What? I was wrong?
Natsuno Minami is like the third character who is like, you could cast this person as the story's Luke Skywalker and it would work, but the story's 3 different Luke Skywalkers are all Luke Skywalker for very different reasons.
Do you know why she makes a really good Luke Skywalker? I just realized this. She lives all the movies that this game references.
She does.
She goes through Terminator. She goes through E.T.
That's true. Because, and like, what makes me think about it is this, like, and this is actually, since we referenced RLM earlier, this is another thing from the fucking Plinkett reviews, which is that, like, you gotta have someone who's really normal, so that even if they're in this weird setting, you can kind of relate to them for sake of being normal, which is why Luke Skywalker works, is because he's just some fucking, shit-ass, like, good-hearted country boy who gets swept up in the Jedi shenanigans. And it's like, Juro is that in terms of just being boring, and then Iori is that in terms of not really interfacing with the plot very much. But Natsuno is that in terms of being confronted with the plot and just completely misunderstanding it right out the jump.
And it's... She exemplifies one of the things I wrote down that fits for all of these characters, which is, it's totally okay if you, the player, doesn't understand what's going on in this plot, because none of the characters do either, and the characters that should all have amnesia.
Yeah.
Like, Renya Goto is the only person who understands what's happening, and it's because he's the last character you're allowed to play.
Yeah.
He's literally refusing to tell you what the fuck is going on until you've already beaten 95% of the game. Thanks.
But like,
Thanks, Renya.
but not only is Natsuno just like a very fun character overall with her like enthusiasm and her wild conspiracy theories and everything like that, just like the interactions she has with the overall plot are very dynamic, and like she's there for all like the major turns.
Yeah.
Natsuno is, I think, in my opinion, the only of the 13 playable characters who, if you played her entire storyline, like front to back, without ever seeing a single other person's storyline, you could get a pretty good picture of what the game is about.
Yeah, I think so. Because
I think everyone else tends to be kind of segmented, or worst case, like, can be confusing because it jumps from place to place so much, or like in the case of Ogata, who we'll get to, has a very laser focused story that doesn't necessarily like cohere with the whole thing, but she kind of touches everything in a way where it's like you will have plenty of questions, but you will at least know what the broad picture of the story looks like.
I feel like Natsuno interacts the most with other characters. Like if you were to compare like her direct interactions with other characters, I feel like she gets screen time with everyone, like overall, more than the others do.
Yeah,
that seems correct.
She definitely, it's like, with her character, it's almost like you kind of want to spread Natsuno's, and they kind of make you do that by making sure you can't do her storyline until, like, she's one of the more gated characters, actually, you realize? And that's kind of by design, because it's like, well, you know, you go do Natsuno's story, and then you go do some other stuff, and it's like, Natsuno's story is always the one that's introducing kind of new concepts that are presented in wildly incorrect ways, because Natsuno Minami is the rare female himbo.
You're not wrong.
I'm correct, 100%. And so it's like we're introducing concepts, but like through the lens of somebody who's just wrong. And then it's like, well, if you go play at other characters' storylines, you're getting explanations that explain why she's wrong and could perceive it that way. Like, the first time it's established that, like, hey, we might be the aliens is in Natsuno's story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she's the terraforming equipment or whatever, right? Yeah. Also, I think about it, and I think you are right that she does interact with most characters, and I think it's because, like, the progression of her main storyline is basically just being a plot pinball ricocheting from character to character.
Making sure things actually happen.
Like, she bumps into A, she bumps into Tony, she bumps into Ogata, she bumps into Takamiya multiple times. There's an entire scene that really only happens because Takamiya is trying to find her while an android is trying to find someone, and then Tamao is there, and then Tomi is kind of there, and it's like it all kind of coalesces because specifically that Natsuno is running around with this robot from the future with prohibited future knowledge, and is just sort of leaving a trail of destruction in her wake by way of just attracting every malevolent force that exists, which is to say Tatsuya Ida and no one else.
Natsuno Minami is the Forrest Gump of this game. all these historical events happen, and she is also there.
Yeah. Natsuno Minami, life is like a box of chocolates.
We love her. We stand.
And then her story kind of culminates in basically her having this kind of being party to this encounter where the android, where it's Tatsuya Ida in the android Tomi's body, defeats and then possesses android Tamao.
No, that's
and
that's Izumi.
Oh wait, no. Oh, that is
That's
Izumi.
Izumi,
That's
yeah.
Izumi. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, she was there though.
She was there.
She
but
was
it
there,
was
yeah,
there.
but it wasn't Ida. Yeah.
You're right. Oh no, I'm actually confusing this with the end of Yakushuchi's story, I think, where she goes to fucking confront the robot and it throws itself off the bridge.
Yeah.
Shit, I forget where her story goes. I remember
it's-
BJ is deleted.
Yeah, she's summoned
so
BJ,
she can pilot the Sentinel.
Yeah, BJ has to sacrifice himself in order to let her pilot the Sentinel.
My little buddy.
Yeah,
My
that's
little
where she ends up.
robot buddy.
And I believe that puts us at about 9.5 minutes for her.
Yeah,
If
we
anyone
are
wants to
about
get
good.
any partying
Hell yeah.
burrs in.
We're flying.
We are doing it. Let's see.
This is like our 13-hour battle to try and survive.
Yeah, what's going to happen is we're going to get 7 in, and then like a patron is going to dial us in with, "No, I'm donating $1,000 right now so you can play the bad game instead of finishing the recording. Just go.
Our next character is Keitaro Miura, the polite World War II boy, and my favorite quote from him is "not throwing away my shot," because I immediately go into Hamilton lyrics when I hear
Yep.
it.
Every
Just
single time.
Brain poison.
It's soaked into my skull and I hate it.
Much like Hamilton, Keitaro Miura is neoliberal.
Alright, and I'm starting now.
Much like
Make
Hamilton,
a supercut of every time I tell the two of you
Keitaro-
to shut up in this episode.
Much like Hamilton, Keitaro Miura is neoliberal. His story is being in the 40s, and he's like, yeah, war's gonna happen, and I'm a cool guy, and I'm getting conscripted into this secret robot program. And then the world ends, which is a problem, because he has this little sister, Chihiro, who looks suspiciously like a certain other Chihiro that we know, wink wonk, and also his grandma Tamao. Or his aunt?
His friend
I forgot.
Tamao.
His friend Tamao.
His friend Tamao, that's right.
She's his age at that time. She's no grandma.
Right, and so like the whole world ends because robots invade, and also he meets Natsuno Minami in the past, and he's kind of flabbergasted by her lack of pants because the 40s, and so he's piloting the robot, and then in the heat of battle, after going too hard for too long against all the fucking robo evils, he is teleported to the future, quote unquote, which is to say 1985. And he's like, okay, so the future is here, and there's no record of the fact that aliens destroyed the world, which seems kind of crazy to me. So I'm going to figure out what the fuck happened while the evil men in black keep my robot in quarantine, basically. And so that's basically the arc of his whole shit, is like trying to figure out what the hell happened and how they can go back to the past to defeat the American weapons that destroyed the country. the quote unquote American weapons. And then on the way he discovers a magical love for Hamburger.
Hamburger.
I actually never got to hear him say it in English because I was playing in Japanese, but it's still part of like the localization. So you see him but I also, what happens is you don't hear him say, you hear someone in Japanese go hamburger. Basically, which is like it's like that one fucking Pop Team Epic joke. So I'm just like, no, hamburger. You are motherfucker.
Yeah.
No,
Telling
so
that to Hishiyama. You motherfucker.
so that means you did miss out on the thought cloud of hamburger with the reverb and everything.
I saw the thought cloud, but for me, it was Japanese with reverb, just hamburger.
Dang.
Missing out on the jokes.
I do really love Miura and Hijiyama both being like, World War II from the 40s, that era, and then coming to the future and being like, what do you mean we're just cool with America now? What?
They sent giant 300-foot-tall walking tanks to turn our country into ash.
What do you mean we're just selling them radios now? What?
We sell them Nintendos and they're cool with it.
We have the infrastructure to make radios and sell them? The world ended.
What? I need to go back and stop the war.
Oh, buddy.
God.
Oh, buddy. And then along the way, his and, like, all of his interactions with Natsuno, going back to our previous character, are, like, some of my favorites just because he's so... they're both just so affably dumb. Like, I just love him. They're so... He's a good boy, really, Miura is. He's always trying to do the right thing. Like, every version of Miura is just trying to do the right thing, at least his perception of the right thing.
That's why him and Natsuno are perfect for each other, is because between them there are no brain cells.
Zero.
You really couldn't have found better characters than those two to learn about the future past versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both too dumb to get it.
And learn that they used to be dating.
And then being like, damn, he/she, depending on perspective, is pretty cute though. Hubba hubba, hababa, hambaga.
Because they're both too they're smart enough to understand what's happening, but too stupid to like properly like contextualize it and like put it in order.
Their processing power is just enough to acknowledge that the thing is happening and not enough to like derive any further critical thought.
Look, BJ
because
has
the next
all
thing
the brains.
is already happening.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's true.
BJ is a robot, and you know, as soon as they stuck Mira's brain inside of a robot, it's like sticking an extra stick of RAM inside of your computer. Suddenly everything makes more sense. You could process things faster. My God, it's a miracle. And that's why BJ is the smartest of the three of them, despite ostensibly being literally the same person as Miura.
By being turned into a robot, they removed the part of him that is like constantly occupying 80% of his processing power thinking about ground beef.
Thinking about ground beef and girls' legs. It's fine.
Yeah.
Only two things he thinks of. I mean, that's fair.
He's a red-blooded young Japanese man who thinks only of two things: hamburger, steak, and girls' legs. We've all been there.
We get it. We understand.
Oh, God.
We still have a couple minutes to talk about
him. We do,
him.
but I love... Him and Natsuno are, like, the best vocal characters, because, Keitaro is the first character... In the timeline, he's the first character you see.
Yeah, that's true.
And
oh, yeah.
His is the first time where you're like, where you first really get blown away about like what is happening in this game, because he's the one who's like, man, I would have loved to live in the 1940s, and it's like, your entire shtick is that you love the 40s so much
that you just really want to go back to them.
We joked about this in a prior episode, but I really love that, like, not only did they make a 1940s, like, domain, right? Mm-hmm. But the only two people who are there are the technical engineer and the gay man.
The two people who are the least suited to be in 1940s Japan.
Just like, Christ almighty, like, why are you like, do you wish bad things upon your, like, self-progeny? That you're just like, man, I'm really good with machines, I'm going to go to the least machined fucking time period available to me.
I feel like it was just like a dice roll, like it was bad RNG going back to fucking speedrunning again. But the RNG manipulation was not on Hijiyama and Miura's side, y'all.
No, well, here's the thing. But I don't think it's true, because the reason there's 5 sectors is because they couldn't agree which ones to pick, which means that everyone ostensibly had their pick of where they wanted to be, and these two fucking idiots were like, you know what place is great to be? Japan in 1945. That's where I want to be.
Then in that case, it's the same thing as being like, I wish I lived in the 50s, without ever actually thinking about like what living in the 50s actually entailed. You know what I mean? It's just that it was 2188. They were so far removed from World War II that they literally only had like the most distant cultural touchstones, and be like, no, that was a cool time. Like, yeah, we got nuked, but, you know, before then it was cool. We had, like, we had like cool airplanes and uniforms, and we had an emperor who ostensibly had some kind of political power. Like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Let's go do that. And then you actually get there and you're an engineer or you're gay and you're like, shit.
Some part of me just wonders if he was like, man, if I had the benefit of having my mind completely erased and being able to experience a moment with no fore-awareness of what it would be, just to experience the actual, like, human aesthetic of that moment in time without knowing it's going to come, it is the absolutely gut-wrenching, inhumane way in which Japan fights hard and loses World War II on account of the massive extermination of civilian life from nuclear weapons, and then has to go back to being occupied by the people who beat them and then selling radios to them afterwards. And I'm like, Miura, why are you choosing this for yourself?
Buddy.
Unless because since it's not really Japan in the 1945, it's just based on it. Maybe it's an elaborate fantasy where actually Japan wins World War.
And they didn't suck shit the whole time. Yeah.
Wait, Miura's like, if I was there, I would have stopped it.
Rip to Nagasaki, but I'm different.
Rip to the Japanese Imperial Army, but I'm built different. I have a giant robot.
That is totally what Hijiyama thought, though.
Yeah, totally.
Hijiyama is absolutely like, I would have won if I were there.
Speaking of, I think we're at 10, so who's our next Sentinel? And is it Hijiyama?
We are very close to time. So yeah, him and Natsuno are like my favorite characters in this game. They're both great. Next is Hijiyama.
Yay!
Rude World War II boy. And Sarah, what do you think my quote for him is?
I'm acting like an amateur.
It's gotta be unbelievable. I'm acting like an amateur.
Yeah.
Which he says while he's like taking an action.
Yeah, no, it's like his battle action during the
like
the combat sections. Is like every time you pick his actions, he's like unbelievable. I'm acting like an amateur. I'm like, bro, you're owning the shit out of everyone. It's cool.
My quote for him would be 3 times a day. Your finest yakisoba pan, please.
Food of the gods, the best thing. I love the dumbass conversation between him and Miura about what's better, yakisoba pan or hamburger.
My understanding is that yakisoba pan is just basically...
It's just carbs on carbs.
Well, it would be... It seems like, and especially the way it's presented, it almost seems like it would be our equivalent of a meatball sub, except you also still have the spaghetti in there.
It is exactly just yakisoba noodles on a like a sub bun.
But it seems like it has some kind of red sauce of some kind on it, or red something. So who knows?
It's different though, because like it's like that like sweet Japanese like bun bread, like it's different over there.
Yeah, it's not like
our like plain sub bun. It has like a like kind of a sweet flavor, kind of almost like a sweet fried flavor to it. I can't explain it.
Like not quite like a donut, but like that kind of
texture.
Yeah. Like a cake.
Obviously that's sugary.
Y'all are making me want to go get some fucking Japanese sandwich bread.
Yeah, no, fucking yeah. I hate this dude and his fucking yakisoba pan fried noodles all over the place. And I'm like, yeah, I could go for some fried noodles and a Coke right now.
Some fried
noodles on some sweet Japanese bread with a Coke.
Sounds really
and the Coke
good.
Costs like 25 yen or whatever.
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
I do love, speaking of him and Miura, I love the dissonance of Hijiyama was homeless and literally about to die before he got like some food from Megumi, and Miura's like runs into Natsuno and she's like, yeah, I know this guy who will let you stay at his house. He's
just live there.
He's currently shacking up with this girl who makes way too much food all the time.
Also, conveniently, his house is pretty old, kind of like one from your time period. In fact, it might even be your house. Dun dun dun.
Don't worry about it.
And then here's Hijiyama, who's like, his hair growing out was not an aesthetic choice. He just couldn't go anywhere or take care of himself. He was bathing in a river.
Well, it's so funny because, like, again, like we mentioned, like the hey, no, that like this game doesn't have to take the all our souls are intrinsically like just the way that they are approach to things, the Gnostic approach to things, but it's still very funny about how him growing out his hair to look more like his 2188 self was not a voluntary choice or even really a choice.
Right.
He just couldn't have access to a barber for the entirety of the time that he was in 1985 because he was homeless and then at some point living in a warehouse with his boyfriend who apparently prefers him that way.
And just also owns a warehouse, but we'll get to him later. I also love that... I love that Hijiyama was basically living like a JRPG protagonist, getting into random encounters to earn scratch.
Yeah. He's literally beating up like 1980s Japanese thugs in order to steal their money and then eat fried noodles and bread. Like, he was just living Yakuza 0, where he's just like wandering around the streets and just like random thugs will pop out and like try to mug him.
Who's Ogata's rival named again?
Wajima.
Wajima.
Majima?
Wajima.
No, not Majima.
No,
Rajima.
The Wario
Rajima is
of
basically
Majima.
Rajima is basically the Yakuza NPC, though, where he sees you on the street and he just, like, fucking turns to face you and just starts running, and you're like, oh, Christ,
instantly aggro.
And then I'm just picturing Hijiyama, like, doing heat moves and stuff.
Hijiyama just like grabbing a bicycle and breaking it over his head.
He drags a thug like into a convenience store and shoves his head in the microwave and tells the clerk to start to heat this up.
Oh god, he's so stupid. In a game full of stupid characters, he really might be like the pinnacle of all of them.
The problem is that Okino, his boyfriend, has a fully functioning brain, but he is actually so stupid that between the two of them, they only have one brain cell again.
Well, it's funny because
absolutely.
Hijiyama is just dumb as rocks, right? Mm-hmm. Okino is
just completely.
Okino is smart, but he's also an asshole and lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's catty.
He doesn't commit himself.
Imagine how much shorter this game would be if Okino did anything with all the shit that he knows.
Imagine it's that meme where it's like the book, like the giant book, and it's like 13 Sentinels, and then the smaller one is 13 Sentinels if Okino was nice.
Though, actually, literally, if you think about it, the entire game only happens because Okino is so smart and so lazy that he creates an entire simulated living environment, but uses the computer code from a game that has fucking Godzilla invasions in it.
And it's like, no, this is fine.
It's like, I don't need to take out the Godzilla invasions. It's not like they're going to happen. I'll just make it so the flag's turned off. Nothing bad could happen here.
I want to read this quote from Hijiyama's Mystery Files. And again, this is about Okino, the man that Hijiyama loves dearly and his love has persisted through time. You know, based on his 2188. Okino straps Hijiyama to a chair in an abandoned factory and analyzes Hijiyama's mind.
Oh, the best part is that you realize that Hijiyama's into it too. That's the funniest part.
Look, sometimes your character is the intelligence 8 human fighter, and you fall in love with the intelligence 20 like elf necromancer.
Just imagine being Hijiyama and this dude you have a crush on is like, yes, I'm getting the readouts of your mind telling me that you're into this.
He's just like, is this some kind of American torture device? This strange chair? And he's like, no, dude, this is from an adult store. Get over yourself.
Oh, God.
He's so dumb and so angry, and it's great.
What's so funny to me is that, like, Hijiyama... Okay, so, like... There are two characters who are, like, really severely gated, right? Like, one is Renyagoto, who we'll get to. Mm-hmm. And you have to do, like, everybody's stories in order to even unlock his second chapter. The other character who is severely gated to the same degree, like, who you can't play until you've done a lot, is Hijiyama. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to unlock Hijiyama's and get a lot of answers. And it's like, no, not really.
No.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna get Hijiyama tied to a chair by his boyfriend, and Hijiyama eating 4 yakisobas in 5 minutes.
Earlier, we said Natsuno Minami is the rare example of a female himbo. I think Hijiyama might be the rare example of the male bimbo.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Hijiyama is arm
he's
candy.
He's hot and he's dumb and, you know...
There's nothing he loves more than being menaced by his boyfriend.
And bread.
And fried bread.
I'm just imagining it's like
the way we talk about these characters, you'd think this is a comedy game.
I know.
Look, we've already had 2 extremely serious episodes where we talked about the soul and shit. It's fine.
There's that bit where Okino literally gives Hijiyama an allowance and he spends it on 5 loaves of yakisoba pan, and you have to imagine Okino was like, I expected you to buy, like, proper dinner. Did you seriously eat...
like... There's nothing more like game into narrative, like Ludo narrative. What's the opposite of dissonance? Resonance, I guess.
Yeah. Synonyms?
Where it's just like you do the fucking wipe forward and you just are standing there as Hijiyama and you open your thought cloud and there's 5 yakisoba pods and you eat them one by one.
Just like even Okino had to be like, did you eat 5 meatball subs in a single afternoon?
Oh my god. Hijiyama.
I've never been more attracted to you.
God, that's the reason why he's saved for second to last, is because he's such a treasure.
God, I love you.
I'm gonna die. Okay.
Speaking of dying, it's time for Sentinel number 6.
Where are we right now?
7? 7, because 5 was Natsuno.
Yeah, we are getting to my second favorite character though. Nenji Ogata, Josuke with bites the dust.
Yeah.
My favorite quote from him is, "Thought I'd be used to fights by now."
Oh god, Ogata is a gift because like he's my favorite. Him and Kisaragi are my 2 favorite.
Let's start the
characters
timer.
It is. It started. Yep.
Okay.
So I will say Ogata is the one who's weird for me because A, he's one of my favorite characters in the game. Straight up, he might be my favorite male character in the game. Like it's a pretty hard vying for first place, but he's definitely in the running. The other way he's weird though is because a lot of characters, they have their stories that like kind of just really engage with the fullness of what they're doing in that time frame, right? Like leading up to the big climactic mech battle. But Ogata is the one character whose entire story is a single moment in his part of the story, and every other time you see him, it's strictly as an NPC.
Right.
Which is very funny.
It is.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it is a weird perspective for his story, and I like when you get characters like him who like are a different take on the gameplay mechanics. Like Ogata as a character, his story really only exists to further Hijiyama and Okino's stories.
Right. So like
Pretty
further
much,
like explaining what they're actually planning.
Yeah. But
And
and him just kind of being a supporting character in every other scene is very interesting.
it's actually really funny, he gets like a lot of his development in Kisaragi's story, who I presume is next.
Yes.
Which is funny because those 2 end up together.
Yeah, they and of course that's kind of what makes it so good, is that like that's what makes like them as a duo so good too, is that they have the most like obvious kind of relationship development over the course of the game, where instead like all the other characters, their romances kind of spring out of being like dumb teenagers who fall in love immediately. See Iori Fusaka, our golden child. But like Ogata and Kisaragi have like an actual relationship progression that is really fun, and the reason like Ogata's story is so like fun to me is that by the time his story has happened, him and Kisaragi have become like friends, ostensibly also kind of romantically interested in each other, but mostly just like weird friends, which is my favorite kind of friendship. And they are like, you know, so at this point he is willing to be like pretty candid with her, even when he knows that like she's just kind of a projection of his memories of her. He's still like he's very candid and able to like talk to her more openly. And I super vibe with it. I think it's really like one of the things I like is that certain characters, like Izumi and Shinonome, their stories are kind of like puzzle boxes where you start in the same place every single day and then you figure out, like, you have to fill out the little branching storylines. You have to fill all of them out in order to advance it. And so you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're literally trying to solve the puzzle of like, well, what do I do to trigger this new branch of the story? Right. And Ogata's is like an extremely condensed version of that. It's only one screen. Like, Izumi and Shinonome have like multiple screens that you have to kind of explore in order to unlock the next part of the puzzle. Ogata's is one screen, and you are just trying to find like, who do I interact with next in order to adequately advance this plot. And it's really smart to just be like, here's a teeny tiny moment of time, and here's 100,000 things happening in that moment of time. Go wild, try to figure out, like, get as many answers as possible from this one little sliver of a moment.
And I love that, and I love it especially because it does lean into it being like, this is the time loop, and the Groundhog Day, you've got to figure out what you need to do in sequence to break out of the time loop.
Yeah.
I love it, and it's happening to one of the dumbest characters in the game, who cannot articulate what is happening to him.
Yeah, and instead he has to use his intimidating menace to bother computer memory versions of people he knows and just be like, hey, grabs you by the collar, balls up my fists at you, what's happening with the evil version of you shit? And just like, I don't know, if one of you did that to me, just out of nowhere, I would be pretty miffed that A, you were threatening with violence, but B, also you were deliberately explaining whatever you were trying to talk to me about extremely poorly.
Yeah, he's so dumb. And like, even like in his own head, they are literally inside of his own brain doing this. Like the one place where you think he would have the most clarity. No.
There's a scene where Okino tells him what's going on. Like, he figures it out, and he totally knows, like, why he's looping, that he's in a simulation and all that. And he still can't, like, say it to Tomi, because he's too dumb to articulate it.
He's so fucking stupid. I love him.
I love him desperately.
I love that there is a character in this who's a playable character who is a Bancho type, but is explicitly just really shitty at it. Like, he doesn't even smoke.
No, he doesn't.
That's a detail. He also loses fights a lot.
Unless it's Wajima, then you would win every time.
And I believe at some point it's also said he has a perfect attendance record, if I'm not mistaken.
He does have a perfect attendance record. He's very miffed when he fucks it up, yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny that he has all these like model student things, but he just like, you know, is fully Bancho in presentation.
Like, no, it is not an accident that Billy Kametz, Josuke Higashikata's English voice actor, voices him in this game.
It's totally intentional.
Just like all the other instances of this. Just like Megumi is Homura, and we'll get to her later, but Yuki is Ryoko.
Right.
Or Ryuko. Like, it's totally intentional.
Yeah.
I wish we weren't getting to Yuki later. I wish that she was just the entire podcast. Anyway.
Talk about Yuki Takamiya and how hot she is in the future. Anyways.
But
yeah.
No, and I love it. I think Nenji is one of my favorite character archetypes, and like if Natsuno was not such a delight, he would be my favorite character, like easily. Sure. I love his interactions with Hijiyama. I love that they're both aggressive meatheads who bicker with each other and like try to duke it out all the time.
We talked about it last time, but seriously, one of the best scenes of the game is when they're both just waiting for their respective love interests in front of the shrine, and they just have to be like, Sup? Why are you standing so close to me, dickhead?
They have to be like, hey, how's this time travel shit work? Oh, you don't know either, huh? Damn.
Well, I love the scene where Juro leaves because he's bored of them picking on each other.
It's so good. Also, what I will say is, since we're kind of approaching the end of our time with them, as much as I like, where the canon ships ended up with all the characters, there is nothing I want to see more than the 13 Sentinels alt sequel / spinoff that is a fucking Ogata and Natsuno romantic buddy cop movie.
Absolutely.
Basically. That's all I want. I need those knuckleheads to interact more and just completely fucking bungle a situation by both being too dumb to live.
No, that version that we saw in the epilogue, that version of them fucked 100%. No,
100%.
Just that's a doomed timeline. You've never seen a more doomed timeline.
That's a doomed timeline because they're so dumb they managed to break the simulation and they'll never be allowed to leave.
You know that scene in Zoolander where they're like, you need to get the files, they're in the computer? And it's just the two of them doing 2001: A Space Odyssey while they break the computer open. Yeah. That's just them. That's just Natsuno and Ogata trying to solve any problem.
Except it's somebody telling them, no, you two are in the computer, and so they just start kicking a tree.
Or it's the fucking SpongeBob thing where Ogata's like, wait, Natsuno, we're not cavemen. We have technology. And he just picks up a monitor and starts smashing it.
Man, fucked up to think about. If you're in the pod and you kick a tree really hard and you break your little toe, does the fucking pod break your toe while you're in the pod to keep it real?
I didn't get a good look, but I do wonder, does Miura have a scar on his forehead? Did the pod give him a scar so he could feel that pain?
I feel like the answer is probably not, but also damn, that would be really fucked up.
Because I mean,
what if we get one of these simulations where someone loses an arm fighting the robots or something, and they come out of the pod I'm down an arm now.
The nano machines just ate my arm off, sticking it in acid.
We're at time with Ogata.
Oh, we're out?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, sorry, Ogata. You're fun. I wish I would borrow time from you from other people if we could, but I think we covered you basically well enough.
Yeah.
We did good.
Great.
Next
is Tomi Kisaragi, the live streamer of the future. Obviously.
Absolutely.
I will start the time for her now. VTuber of the future, yeah.
A VTuber who even has... I can't get over it. I can't get over that there's a version of Tomi Kisaragi who is a VTuber and who had a simp who modded her chat. And that's a massive part of her character is that she is involved with the world's worst parasocial relationship simp guy. Poor Tomi.
Also, the part where she's reincarnated, that version of Tomi at least, is reincarnated as a robot, and she's like, damn, dude, you really do be loving the idea of me more than me because I'm different now. And he's like, no, shut up.
No, I'll make you like the way you are in my head. And it's like, don't do that.
All this to say, I'm glad Tatsuya Ida is... Well, no, he doesn't get banished to hell. He does actually get banished to the space prison with Tomi, where they will spend their lives with each other and no one but each other for the rest of temporal history. Tatsuya Ida gets ahead in this situation, and Tomi Kisaragi is like...
I wrote this down. I wrote this down under her thing, too, where it's like... Okay, I totally get it. Everyone gets the happy ending. And that's fine. I don't mind that. I am very glad that Tetsuya Ida's happy ending is way over there.
Yeah, I think Tatsuya Ida's happy ending should be oh no, we both uploaded ourselves to space, but you actually uploaded yourself back down to the planet, and oh no, you left a computer worm that's deleting me. No.
But that would also be ideal, but I do like that he ends up away from everyone else.
Actually, it's really...
here's the actual thing, is that in the cosmic scale of time, which is to say, like, you know, hundreds or thousands of years from whenever the ending of the story happens, is that satellite's orbit is going to decay and then just come smoldering down into the atmosphere and be burned into smithereens, and then Tatsuya Ida will truly be dead.
We'll finally be free of Tetsuya Ida, thank God. It'll take a while, but don't worry, give it time.
All things end eventually.
Tomi herself, the Tomi who ends up with Nenji Ogata, is absolutely my favorite character in this game. I just think she's fantastic. I know that Natsuno is great, but like her whole character is just so much fun and refreshing, and she's just so like goofy and like
aggressive
and aggressive and some more like emotionally intelligent than you realize, and I just think she's excellent. She's just such a fun contrast because she is more plot involved than Golden Child of Yuri Fusaka, and she's just, it helps that her voice acting is really good too, and all of her lines are written really well, and so like all of her interactions where she's just so fed up with Goto and stuff like that, I just think she's great. I think she's fantastic. Like, what a good character. So just having like a blast living in 1984, but missing her smartphone the whole time.
Yeah, I think it's great that like one of her character arcs is like trying to take down the sinister corporation. So she's like, well, I'm going to do some research on them. And it's like, for one thing, you would not expect a character like her to actually try to, like, dig up dirt on a company like that.
The problem is that there's no internet, so she has to go to the library.
The second thing is that she's like, wait, shit, what do you mean there's no Google? The fuck is an encyclopedia?
So then instead she just has to ask her friends randomly, like, hey, do you know anything evil about this mega corporation? And because it's 1984 and we haven't quite, like, reached the understanding that all mega corporations are evil, Miuko's like, I don't know, I guess they make, like, hair dryers and shit? And it's like, oh, God love you, honey. She's just great. You know, her and Ogata's, like, back and forth is one of my favorite things in the game because they're so aggressive. But they still like each other. Like, it's fun. I love weird friends like that. They're amazing.
I also like that she develops a romantic relationship with the guy who she meets. It's like, wow, you're a fucking cartoon character. Cool hair idiot.
Yeah.
Late adult version of her years later is like, God, I can't believe I wanted to fuck you with your dumb hair. What's wrong with me? Christ almighty.
It's fine, though, because Kisaragi ultimately wins. Because, again, future Nenji Ogata, call me. What's up?
I don't actually remember what future Ogata looks like.
He's got like the crazy eyebrows, and he's like slimy but like hot, you know.
Like he's like corrupt. I
don't remember his portrait at all.
Oh God, I wonder if I can Google it real fast and just send it.
Well, here's the thing. I tried before to find a picture of adult Yukitaka Miya just to like show to someone, and I just couldn't fucking find it. You know, like, no one posts screenshots of this game on the fucking internet.
People are doing a really good job of hiding spoilers, and it's like, you actually could do a slightly less good job.
Don't fuck with us 13 Sentinels
fans. We can't talk about our own game.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. But no, I like Tomi's...
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, you're right. He could get it.
Yeah, he can get it. What's up?
I love...
No brain cells either, but that's preferable, I think.
Yeah. I like that... Kisaragi and Ogata get to spend time in the future, like, you know, exploring and, like, getting plot dumped at them.
Wait, is that a picture of Kengo?
Wait,
How does
that's totally a picture of Kengo.
What the fuck? They don't even show this in the game. No, what?
Yeah, no.
Holy shit!
That's Kengo.
What?
For the listeners at home, this picture that Sara sent us of what appears to be the art book that has the portraits of the adult 2188 characters and their relationships with each other has a picture of who is presumed to be Kengo Ogata, which is funny because despite the fact that Kengo Ogata is given a talk sprite in the game, it is replaced with a no image available sign or whatever, as to suggest that he is not... cannot be seen or
perceived
intuited at all.
Because he's too vile to be perceived. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Huh.
Damn, okay.
Well, thanks, Google.
I wonder if it's just a thing where they had that and they're like, actually, no, he's cooler and scarier if you don't know what he looks like, because he could be anything.
Going back to Kisaragi, though, I do really love that she is probably... Her and Yuki are probably the most dissonant in terms of, like, who they were and what their simulations end up being.
Oh, yeah.
It's because she's, like, a top scientist, like, really, really smart, terraforming researcher. And then she's like, God, I really, really wish I could have been a VTuber.
God.
Fuck, I miss Twitch so much, said no one ever.
Said Tomi Kisaragi and no one else.
And that's why they launched her 20 million light years in space. She's the only person who likes Twitch.com. Twitch.tv, excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
God, I would have loved to be able to just sing on the internet and get paid for it.
God, I would have lived that kind of a life.
Patreon.com/thegorge.
My VTuber debut so I could make some money doing this.
Patreon.com/thegorge.
There you go. Next character.
Next, we have... Shu Amiguchi.
Worst boy.
Anime Scrooge McDuck. Better put on a show for Yuki-chan. Every time.
I think...
Start now.
Oh, yeah, timer start. Shu Amaguchi is the one character in this game that I think I could do without.
I really could do without Shu Amaguchi,
like,
yeah.
My standout for Shu Amaguchi's story is the scene I mentioned earlier of Jiro Azumi, where you get his scenes where you realize that Kyutoshiba isn't there. Because it's, something that works really well with the framing of the story. It doesn't have to speak itself for you to notice it. It's just there, which is what I like, because otherwise there's a lot of games that do this kind of thing, but then feel the need to draw attention to it in some weird way. This game doesn't. It's just like, cool, you get significance, moving on, which I appreciate.
Sure.
But Shu Amaguchi's a fuckboy. He's a little freak. He's the... newest incarnation of Tatsuya Ida, who, as we've established, sucks ass. His response to having a dream about having been in love with Tomi Kisaragi is when seeing her in school is to just sort of grope her immediately. Just to see, if there's anything there. Which is probably why those two don't end up together in the future, because she's like, oh, he a creep.
He's a creep, yeah.
He did,
and
unfortunately...
then he develops this big crush on Takamiya. And those two end up together in defiance of, like,
common
good
sense.
taste or justice or Takamiya having a happy life, And it's not to say, like, that Shu Amaguchi is the devil or anything like that, but I don't really like him as a person. I don't think... He doesn't add much to the story except for being yet another avenue to discover weird plot shit through. And I'm just like, I could do without him. Replace him with Kyutoshiba. Maybe we got something going on.
He really, unfortunately, inherited too much of Ida's creepiness.
Yeah, it's just...
And, like, being a self-obsessed, like, fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Who says things that he doesn't mean.
If he had just been, like... a cool rich guy that is friends with this other kid who like always wants to hang out, and he's like totally cool with it.
Sure.
It would have been fine.
Or if like Takamiya was like at all interested in Amaguchi.
If there was like a good back and forth or a positive response from her at any point.
Sorry. Like that character archetype was out of date like 5 years ago, maybe more. But like this whole like she has literally negligible interest in me, and I'm still gonna kind of like be like, hey Takamiya, you want to go out? There's like, and it's bizarre because like none of the other dudes in this game are like that. Like
he really stands out, and it is a shame because like there are bits that I really like. I do like him really analyzing the fact like, oh shit, I can't tell anyone about all the crazy shit that's happening to me because no one would believe me.
Right.
And he does have a strong analysis of like, I've got to figure this out. How can I approach these weird conversations I'm having with an idol through my TV? Mm-hmm. How do I approach these in a way that won't make me look like a crazy person?
Right.
And if Yuki like, at any point was like, yeah, I guess this shoe guy is cool, it would have been fine, but we don't get that.
It's literally like it's really wild because it, like, every turn where I thought, like, oh, this will be where she kind of comes around to him, it only really happens at the very end. And, like, I know that's also kind of like what happens with, like, Yakushiji and Kurabe, but, like, it's just different. Okay.
With Yakushiji and Kurabe, like, you could see it coming and you could kind of feel it because Kurabe is, like, a nice dude. And it was kind of clear that, like, he wasn't really mad at Yakushiji. He was
mad at himself.
Yeah.
Well, he was also mad at himself because at this point, what doesn't come up until later for him, is that he had already had the dream about killing her.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was afraid of getting close to her because he didn't want that to become true somehow.
Right.
He was afraid of being put in a situation where he would want to kill her. And eventually he realized, no, that's a fucking stupid reason to not be attached to someone.
Yeah.
She makes me hamburger steak all the time, and it's my favorite.
Kurabe's like, don't ever put me in a situation.
Literally. Borrowing like 10 seconds to talk about Kurabe more. That is literally his entire arc. Just like, man, I didn't ask for this. I want to go home.
Like, I don't want to be in a situation ever.
But it is a shame because, like, Shu does have my favorite revelation in the game, which is when he drives out past the 30-kilometer barrier and you just see a bunch of, like, machinery. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite plot twist in the entire game.
That's the one that made me feel like I was going the most insane, other than the 2188 revelation in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I think the 30-kilometer barrier is actually the only... thinking about it, it's the only reveal that I think doesn't quite, like, in time thinking about it, like, completely track with me as making a whole lot of sense for it to have happened at all. Because the thing that we've established is that... Well, also, like, UC is supposed to be outrageously good at keeping up the facade, right? Like, you can send a correspondence or, like, call the U.S. government, and it simulates the U.S. government to reply to you. Like, it is a very detailed, like, mystery. But it just has a thing where it's like, yeah, I guess if you just drive for, like, not even a particularly long amount of time, I'll just sort of give up.
Well, what
I feel like that could just be
like, I'm surprised there's not a scene where they drive out, right? And they drive through the tunnel, and then there's hard cut, and it's the next day, and they're like, man, that sure was a cool trip out to see your grandma, like 100 kilometers away. And it's like, I'm surprised they didn't go that route, because it would feel like it would sell UC being like a, like, really insidious authoritative force way more than just like, oh, here's my guts.
Well, because that's what's supposed to happen, but I'm pretty sure that Inaba or Megumi had done something to him at that point.
Made it so.
I think that's what it is.
And that's why he was able to remember it. Because usually, it should be, oh, you drive out and it kind of like resets your XY coordinates and then programs in a false memory for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. That was something I was thinking about recently. It's like, that's weird that UC is just like cool with that. Just like, yeah, it's okay.
Like, I guess that, like, it has to have like a hard limit to how far it can, I suppose, render, like the render distance, because it is a computer. Like, after a certain point, it just puts you in like the guts, because that's all just like,
well, that's the weird thing about it too, is because, like, we understand that the sectors are computer simulations, but they're also a real physical space.
Right.
And the idea of all the simulations being these, like, 30-kilometer circles or whatever is, I think, supposed to be that it is in some way a scale thing inside the sectors themselves, because they're depicted, if I'm not mistaken, they're depicted as being these giant canisters coming off of a space object. Mm-hmm. But, like, why would you be like, okay, you've reached the end of the simulation, now we're just gonna show you, like, the real computer shit.
All I can think is that it's like a visual representation of, like,
junk data
of, like, a server farm.
Yeah.
Like it's like literally like the the actual hard drive, like the like insanely futuristic solid state drives that all of this simulation is stored on. Like
you can tell that I don't like Shu Yamaguchi, by the way, because I've spent probably half of Shu Yamaguchi's time block talking about things that aren't necessarily actually about him
I don't
at
care
all.
about Shu
Yeah, no,
Yamaguchi one bit.
Like I said, the most I have to say about him is that it's a shame his character wasn't better, considering all these other characters are so good.
There's a reason Takamiya ended up divorced in the 2188 timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know, I feel like even with a cast of 15 people, you have to have one person who's just kind of sucks. Like, sorry, Shu.
Yeah.
You kind of suck. Like, whenever you have that moment at the end of Takamiya where you're like, yeah, damn, I flirted with that other girl, but damn, you're the only girl for me. Whatever I think of there is not like the, oh, he's there's something sweet under there.
No.
I think about Shinonome from 2188 is who I think about. And I think about the fact that she literally tried to doom the entire human project because you broke her heart so badly. Because as has been established, you are capable of saying things and not actually feeling the thing that you're expressing.
Right.
And it just feels so insidious to have that sour taste in the back of my mouth during what's supposed to be the happy ending epilogue for everybody. That was a tension that came up after you were flirting with some other girl besides the one who you were at that point already married to, I think.
Yeah, they've been married for like 5 years and have have kids at this point. They're one of the They are one of the kids.
Compulsory heterosexuals.
Yeah, compulsory heterosexuals. Everybody else, actually, I think they're the only ones who have. No, that's not true.
No,
Iori has kids.
Tomi and Ogata also have kids.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, that's not so. That makes sense.
Yeah, their relationship is deliberately framed as the one where it's like, yeah, we fucking, but we kind of hate each other. But the fucking though. Anyway, that's Shu Yamaguchi.
We hit time on Shu.
Next character.
Good. Next character.
I spent the entire game waiting for Shu to get better, and he never did. That's the end of that.
There you go.
Yuki Takamiya! Yuki Kiwamagi's dream life.
Call me.
Call me. Just like...
She's cool. That power
please.
walk is so fucking cool.
She's the coolest character in the game, straight up. I think she... Oh, it's a hard pick between her and Natsuno being my favorite of the lady characters in the game. Because Natsuno is just such a fucking vibrant ball of dipshit energy and good vibes. Meanwhile, Takamiya is over here, queen of the flying around and shooting things with missiles and kicking them to death. And also, she's just a fucking stoned badass. She's great.
We're 100% robbed of a scene where Yuki, Ogata, and Hijiyama just get into a yelling match.
All of them just beat each other's asses.
We were robbed of the scene where they have a 1v1v1 fucking beatdown.
Yeah.
And obviously Takamiya wins.
Of course. I want Takamiya to kick Hishiyama's ass as hard as she kicked Ogata's ass all the time. Like, I'm a simple woman. That's all I want in life.
The only crime of this game is that none of the hand-to-hand fight scenes are animated, because that would be a crazy pain in the ass, because we don't actually get to see all the times that Takamiya just completely mops the floor with a bunch of dudes. It's great.
They were too busy lavishly animating these massive giant robots, and they're like, can we animate a fight scene between people? No, there's not enough time in the budget. Okay.
There's no time.
There's no time.
Kamatami-sama is already so overworked writing the entire story and doing key art for all these movement sprites. We cannot also have him do an animated fight sequence. So her whole thing, I guess, to cover her story, because I don't even fucking hardly remember what happens in Shu's aside from, I'm going to find things out. Oh no, I found things out. But hers is that her story basically starts around when she comes to the school, right? Because she was sent there for spy purposes. And like immediately Natsuno goes to the past for several days or whatever. And her entire thing is a detective story.
It's great.
She's a Sherlock and
That's
she
amazing.
has a Watson, and the Watson is an evil robot.
Who is actually an adult man from an aborted timeline who murdered the living shit out of everybody.
Who is possessing the android body of a character who's barely even in the actual story.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and so those two are Sherlock and Watsoning around. She's trying to find out what happens to Natsuno. But around halfway through this is when she finds out about the bathroom incident, quote unquote, which is the fight we described earlier where while Natsuno's hiding in a bathroom stall, robot Tamao, who's piloted by Juro, and robot Tomi get in a fight. Robot Tomo gets busted, but then Juro takes over Robot Tome and is now Robot Tome. And like that is like a really, for being a single scene, it's like a really pivotal moment in the sort of the end part, because it's like one of those ones where it's like 4 different character stories are gated behind you having seen that scene in Yuki's story.
Yep.
It's really a lot. But then she goes and finds out, and then she goes to basically hunt down this imposter with the help of her fucking bureau friends, if I recall. And then, so that's where the android is destroyed, that like gets thrown into the river.
Yep.
And then Juro Kurabe finds it, I believe.
And that's how Juro gets infected by Izumi. Like, that's how he ends up with Kyuta in his head, is because during Yuki's story, the Tamao robot jumps off the bridge and like pulls herself into a trash can.
So it's suffice to say that like Yuki's story is one of the ones where it's like understanding the sequence of events that happens in the VN portion. Like her perspective is essential. Yeah. You cannot like tell the story and it makes sense without having her perspective there, because she sees basically the entire progression of Juro Izumi moving through the current timeline before he becomes a ghost in Juro Kurabe's brain.
Right.
And I mechanically, I love playing hers because it's fun to do investigation stuff.
Yeah, to literally walk around and have like a dossier on subjects, or suspects, excuse me, and like you have to get up to them and be like, "Hey, can I ask you some questions?" Like a real detective wearing like a cool Sukeban outfit, and you know, you get to just be like a high school girl detective, and it owns.
I would play an entire mystery game about her.
Yes, please.
I was literally going to say she is a character, like I know I said earlier that Natsuno's is the one that, like, if you only played one story, Natsuno's is the one that gives you the most of the story, right? But hers is the one where hers is the most completely removable from context, would just be a cool game by itself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like if you give me the Phoenix Wright length fucking Yuki Takamiya Bancho Girl fucking Sukeban detective game, like I'm there. I'm buying that game and all 3 of its sequels.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Please.
I wish I could have played the Hotel Dusk style mystery point and click adventure game on the DS that stars Yuki Takamiya.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, literally, just even joking about it is making me like, damn, actually, you could make a 4-part mystery VN series of Sukeban Detective where the entire thing is like, oh, this is a fucking freshman year Sukeban Detective, this is sophomore year Sukeban Detective.
Oh my god, that would be cool!
Yeah, that would be super cool. Fucking Capcom or whoever is making Phoenix Wright games that suck now, get at me. I'll help you make a good one.
You can, and my DMs are open on twitter.com, and you may reach out to us.
Listen,
you can also like send me. You can also DM me on Twitter if you just want to send me like really high-res JPEGs of 2188 Takamiya.
Yes, please. She's so hot.
Just alongside with you know, top scientist Tomi Kisaragi being like, I want to be a VTuber. This professor, like literally a professor in 2188 is like, God damn, I wish I could have been a Sukeban in the 80s.
Here's the thing, though.
Doesn't
is that, like,
everybody?
But it's like, unlike Miura and Hijiyama, where I'm like, they clearly did not think this through enough, I can tell she thought about it plenty and arrived at the logical conclusion that
like,
the best way for her to live her truest self is to live in the 1980s and be a fucking kick-ass delinquent.
And it's like, I can imagine that the 2188 was not a delinquent in school. But she always wanted to be.
No,
that's the thing, is
2188 Takamiya. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. She has a fucking doctorate, and what I know is the more of a graduate degree you have, the more you realize, damn, my life would be so much better if I did not know shit and couldn't think.
And she has a doctorate, and she's recently divorced, and she has a daughter who's dating this guy that she doesn't like, and it's like, yeah, you know, I too would, you know, look back on my life and be like, I should have just been a Sukeban.
I should have punched more dudes.
I should have punched more guys. No wonder she's so good at it in the simulation. She's probably like psychically unleashing all of the stress that being a doctor gave her 2188 self.
The only reason 2188, Miura, and Natsuno aren't married is because Miura realizes if he asked for Takamiya's blessing, she would break his legs and arms in one fell blow.
2188 Takamiya spends every morning, like, in the shower, just like, you know what? I would have punched him. I would have, like, looking back on all of the arguments that she backed down from.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, well, you know what? What I would have done is I would have done this, and they would have shoved his head in the trash can. That would have been so cool.
And that's
Yuki
why
Takamiya is
so
Yuki
cool.
Takamiya. The problem is Yuki Takamiya should have actually gone to the next time period, 2024, so that then all the Yakuza games exist.
Yes.
And she could just be like, oh fuck, this rules.
Oh god, the future's so cool.
No, like that's what Tomi like brings you to the future in one of the alterations, like, and just shows her the Yakuza games, and she's like, yes.
She's like, all right, I guess I'll fucking stay here. 2024, I'll get used to it.
You mean there's 7 of these?
That's why all the previous iterations were a doomed timeline, because in at least one of them, Takamiya got to go to the future and she just played Yakuza all the time. She didn't actually get the damn robot. Oh god.
Kiryu is her hero.
Jesus.
God.
She's just so hot.
Yeah.
I feel like we talk about this. It's a thing where it's unfortunate this is an audio medium because, like, if this were like a YouTube like fucking rant video, there would just be pictures of fucking. There would just be the picture of 2188 Takamiya just on screen for the entire 10 minutes we have.
Yeah.
Which I think, unfortunately, we're also at the end of.
We are running out of time. Yeah. Last thoughts.
Yeah,
about
which
her.
is tragic because she's the best.
She's great. I would have played a whole game about her just alone. Like, I love all these other characters, but like, god damn, I would love to play a Sukeban mystery game. Fucking that would be so cool.
We're pretty close, right? She's like number 10, right?
Yeah, we only had a few more to go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Next one is Ryoko Shinonome, Johnny the Tackling Alzheimer's Patient. And go.
Oh, Shinonome, you deserve
No
so
one
much
gets
better.
it dirtier. No one gets it dirtier than Shinonome.
Oh,
She's the only one who has a gameplay mechanic tied to her, like, her story stuff.
And the gameplay mechanic is about how hard she fucking gets it.
And it's all about just her getting sick.
And her brain having holes drilled into it by nanomachines. That's basically what's happening. And it's like, man.
And like
Shinonome.
her entire story is she's kind of doing the Shu Amaguchi thing of trying to discover lore. But she's doing this while her brain is being eaten alive by nanomachines. And basically where her story ends is, I discovered all this lore, but it doesn't matter because I'm basically I've already lost most of myself. And I'm just going to pilot this robot until my fucking mind is completely gone because that's all I really have going for me. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. She's like the homunculus for all of the story's misery. Everyone else gets a happy end because Shinonome suffers the entire way.
Oh, God.
Truly, Shinonome is the Christ figure in the story.
She's fucking Sisyphus in this story. Like, she spends like the first third of her entire campaign chasing the wrong guy. And he also has amnesia.
And then the other thing is that it's like, man, she gets such a raw deal that even in her own campaign, people are blatantly like, you already asked me this. What is wrong with you? And it's like, she never gets a win. She literally, in her entire campaign, never really gets a win. I know that she kills Ida. Like, she finally owns Ida, but like, it happens so abruptly. Like, do they show it?
She doesn't get time to savor it.
Yeah. In a version where Ryoko Shinonome got what she deserved, she would probably still lose her memory, but at the very least she would own the shit out of Ida, and then she would get a moment where she's like, oh, that actually felt pretty good because we all want to shoot Tetsuya Ida. slash Shu Amiguchi. They should have, you know how like they let you shoot the androids in this game? Like you have like a dumb quick time event where you have to wait till they get close enough. Mm-hmm. I should have been allowed to do that to Ida.
I agree. They should have done the opposite of the MGS3 thing. Where instead of forcing us to pull the trigger, we get to pull the trigger.
You're allowed to pull the trigger. You have the privilege of pulling the trigger on Tetsuya Ida, but you don't even get to do that.
And we talked about it last time, but like it's a shame that her happy ending is that she just forgets all the bullshit she went through.
And then she's just like, I guess working in a lab with Renya Goto. Which also
it's awkward because those two were dating in middle school or something.
Yeah, they have like that one like really strange one-off line where it's like Goto still has a thing for her, I guess, and it's like, oh no, oh honey, you don't need to do that to yourself again, please.
I say I don't think it really comes up in the epilogue at all, just because like, damn, that's just sad for both of you.
Like,
sorry,
no.
You know, I mean, like in a way that I'm happy they didn't just kind of like pair those two off like romantically, like everyone else. It's just like, because that would have been worse for her, honestly.
The last thing you need to do is hook up with the guy who looks enough like the older man that you had a thing for. That it's like a red herring in this story.
And who's also kind of emotionally distant and a know-it-all, and like, you know,
the
man, Shinonome gets it so fucking bad.
Shinonome and Takamiya should have ended up together. That's my hot take.
Because
they have some interaction in both of their storylines, because they're both kind of in the same like, hey, Ida's manipulating us kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And like, Shu sucks and Shinonome deserves better and Takamiya is the best. So, you know.
I also feel like maybe it would have been fine if she didn't end up with anyone, and also she killed Shu Amaguchi.
I do.
She saved Takamiya from a life of disappointment.
I do think it is nice that she is kind of like this clean slate, and now she does get to grow up with like these people that honestly, none of them are at the point where they care too much about each other's, like, true history.
Sure.
And I like that. I like that she gets that. Like, she's a clean slate, and no one cares about the bullshit she went through. Because everyone who does is, like, an AI or a ghost that isn't real anymore.
They're stuck in a computer. They don't get to go outside and see the cool dogs.
All they have to deal with is that, I guess she's this kind of weird, like, flighty ghost girl. All right.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll hang out.
Total raw deal. Sorry, Shinonome. You even get a raw deal in the future version of yourself.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm gonna willfully end the world, like, a dozen times, hundreds of times over because of my horrible ex. God damn, Ida, what did you do to her?
I guess in the fucking errata that you've mentioned before, just didn't want to do the suicide pact.
That's true.
But that also didn't end up in the game, so maybe it was something even more ghoulish.
Who knows, but Ida sucks so much. Like, every version of Ida is just like the version of Ida that we see in 2188 is just like a whiny little shithead who's just like, I hate all of you, get fucked.
And also is a simp. You know, I think it's really appropriate that for Shinonome we're spending at least some part of her episode talking about how much we fucking hate Shu Amaguchi.
How much we fucking hate Tetsuya Ida, just like she does, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, alright.
Please get some better taste, Shinonome.
I'm begging you.
I don't think there's much else to say about her, because she actually doesn't do a whole lot in the story.
No.
And kind of doesn't have a whole lot of really...
she does get them turrets, though.
She does get two turrets, which is cool.
She does get two turrets. She just doesn't have a whole lot of interesting interactions with other characters for the most part, which is tragic. Like I said, she gets the worst out of everybody by just like kind of being alone and sad and punished for the crime of having her heart broken.
Punished Shinonome.
Oh god.
Alright, next character.
She too has shrapnel in her head that makes her forget things.
She does. I think she does, out of everyone, points a gun at more characters than anyone else in this game.
More than the character whose entire arc is about pointing guns at other people.
Yeah. Wait,
Good for her.
Did Megumi and Shinonome ever have a standoff?
No, I don't believe so. No, because they had to have at some point because Shinonome has to get the start button on her somehow.
Right.
But wouldn't she have already had that because she's working with Ida?
Not necessarily. I don't remember. It has at this point been like about maybe 2 months
a month
since
or
I
so.
played the game.
Yeah.
So,
but
anyways,
if they didn't, then they really should have, because they get to pull that gun out a lot.
Yeah.
Mexican standoff between the two of them.
They must have, though. I feel like they must have.
Next character.
Next is number 13 himself, Renya Goto, Crispin Potato Snacks.
The worst boy. And I like him. I'm sorry.
I can't say he's the worst. I'm sorry, Shuamaguchi.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, I hate Shu so much that I
Renya
instantly removed him from my memory.
Renya Goto is at the very least handsome and resourceful until he becomes an old man and he stops being handsome.
It's fine. That version of Renya Goto is like an old spiteful capitalist. That's just how you age when you're like that. This version of Renya won't end up like that, God willing. Somebody will tell him to trim that horrible beard.
I love him being last, because it is great that he is straight up surrounded by imbeciles.
It's true.
He is the only character who has an unvarnished, unclouded, objectively correct understanding of everything that is happening. Aside from Tsukino, but Tsukino doesn't count because he's kind of he has kind of shit going on that gives him additional knowledge, but you know, Renya Goto is just like, yeah, I have a notebook, and my notebook gives me plus 20 intelligence.
And as we've already mentioned, Okino is lazy and an asshole.
Yeah, and Renya Goto is like polite and determined and just is very serious about getting things done.
I want to check, but I really believe that Renya Goto has no superfluous thought clouds in the game.
No, I think every single one of his thought clouds is directly related to the plot. There is no cute boy or cute girl in Renya Goto's thought cloud, like, whatsoever. It's all just like, I love it. I love that a massive portion of Goto's plot is him just grilling this murderous 6-year-old, like, relentlessly. It owns.
It is great. Like, his only driving force is to get answers. And the thing that separates him from everyone else is that he knows who to ask and has them available to ask.
And because that person who he can ask is, again, a 6-year-old, they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they can't stop him.
It's like, you can't even reach the countertops. Of course you're going to answer my questions if you want this food, child.
Oh, you want your dinosaur chicken nuggets? Well, you'd better tell me if you killed Chihiro Morimura.
Good God.
Oh, God. Although they did spring the fact that he had the hots for Morimura literally out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it just popped up out of nowhere.
It's like, man, you didn't strike me as the type, Goto. I mean, she, you know, with the whole...
He really struck me as a, don't look at her, breasts are temporary. Knowledge is forever.
But I guess he is still
Jesus
a 17-year-old boy. It's a good way to remind you, like, all right, these are all teenagers. Yeah. Of course this guy had hots for teacher. Of course. Oh, my God.
You know what separates him from everyone else is he got over that.
He did get over that.
He's no longer bound by your foolish human emotions.
Instead, I'm just gonna pick on this child until she tells me what's going on.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to bully a toddler.
Oh, God.
It is great. It is fucking like his Moriarty is a 6-year-old, okay?
You know, if you think about it, she has the opposite thing of, like, anime girls are like, yeah, I look like I'm 8, but I'm actually 300 years old. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, she's actually, an old woman, but she has been trapped in a baby's body. She's very upset about the whole situation.
Utterly furious about the whole thing, yes.
But
not so furious that she can't do some murder.
I am honestly surprised that Goto is a playable character, and honestly, I forget that he has a pilot, out of the list.
It's genuinely a thing where I think the only reason that Renya Goto is playable is because at some point they were like, okay, we need one of these extraneous Sentinels who actually knows what the fuck is happening to be playable so that people can get the final wrap-up points at the end that explain the plot.
Right, yeah.
Because he is basically, he is, smart like Tsukino is, and he does have those connections, and he does have that insight, and the thing that you get with him is also, the reason why they save him for last, and the reason why his story is chronologically after everyone else's, is because, his story isn't very interesting because he knows everything, and it's less it is very much the experience you would have playing a bad version of 13 Sentinels where things are told to you and then you understand them to be true instead of there being this complicated dance of getting all these clues and trying to piece it together because he already has the clues and he's already put it all together and he's right. And it's it's a necessary thing for this kind of game to have this is how all the eggs are arranged. This is how you put your ducks in a row and all that. It's just that compared to Shu Amaguchi and his storyline that has some twists and turns at the very least, it's his doesn't have a whole lot of the word I'm looking for is aesthetic. But not in terms of something that looks good, as something that makes you feel something.
It's really more of a victory lap for Goto. It's just in case you did not piece it together yet, we're just going to confirm what you should already know.
Right.
It's the conclusion paragraph of your essay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very, and you're right, Saturn. It's very there aren't a lot of I guess emotional aesthetics is the way to phrase it, where you don't have the kind of these, even like you said with Amaguchi, he has the visual trappings of talking to an idol through his TV. There isn't a lot of weird shit going on, and he doesn't have a lot of necessary emotional development. He really is pretty straightforward. You learn that he had a thing for Morimura, and felt that pretty deeply, and then that's kind of it. He does have the one good moment where he asks Professor Morimura to trust them that this will go well. I think that whole scene is pretty effective, especially because it is coming from a character who's so stone-faced, that for him to have kind of an emotionally forward moment to that degree, where he says kind of something a little anime schmaltzy, it works because he is that kind of a character,
he's not the kind of character who takes gambles, but he's asking for someone's trust.
Yeah, but it's still, it is not as terribly stand out in comparison to other characters who have such big emotional highs as I'm a schoolgirl with a giant robot,
Yeah.
The highlight of this video game.
Yeah.
But, it's fine. You have to have a character, like you said, that, explains what the fuck is going on in extremely cut and dry way so that everybody can be on the same page for the emotional catharsis of, hey, we're out of the simulation and we get to go live our actual adult lives now. So, it's fine. I think he's cute. I like boys wearing glasses.
Every character in this game fills their role, and it is a necessary role to get the full picture of the story. And I feel if any of these characters, even Shu Amaguchi, if any of these characters were removed, the game would not feel as fully realized as it is.
Sure. Did I tell you my crackpot theory about why I think Renya Goto looks the way he does? Did I tell you this one, Saturn? I think I told Ben.
I don't remember.
I think my crackpot theory is that Goto looks the way he does because Tetsuya Ida is Randy Goto's bastard son.
I could see it.
Yeah.
You know, he's a shit kid in a position of undeserved power, working like as like an IT guy, probably making like decent money on the space station, but he's mostly just like a whiny asshole.
He's crafty and resourceful in the way that Randy Goto is.
Yeah, so that's why I think they look the same. I mean, that's just like a headcanon, because I don't think that gets confirmed literally anywhere. But we already have one character running around who is the mother of another character who is the exact same age as her. So, it works.
Technically two. Because
right,
Tsukino
yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okino, that's right. God, that doesn't stick with me nearly as much as Natsuno being Yuki's daughter.
Well, because Tsukino doesn't lesbian bait you with his parent.
I know, I got extremely baited. It's homophobic to the degree they did it to me. I would like to file a complaint, thank you.
Anyway, speaking of
Okino, we have two more. We have the two characters who don't get to be
I think we can wrap these into number 14, because I know at least for Tamao, there's not really a lot to say.
There's really not a lot
about
to say.
I'll start the timer now.
We could theoretically in 10 minutes say more about Tamao than Tamao gets to say in the entire game.
That's because poor Tamao doesn't actually get to be in the game. It's all robot copies of her being controlled by other people.
I think literally the only time that we see Tamao as she actually exists is in the very beginning of the game in 1945 during Miura's intro, where then she is then promptly killed by robots.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
She's gonna pop out of the simulation and be like, "Wait, who are you guys?
What the hell is going on?" Okay.
It's like, yeah, I got to see, like in a first-person shooter, like, or in Left 4 Dead, when like you die, you just watch your friends play and just imagine what it would be like to have fun.
She was the spectator the entire time.
Just hanging out in Universal Control, being like, I want to play.
For like 16 years.
Oh, man.
She's the player character.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
We're Tamao.
Oh my god.
She's the one piloting the 13 Sentinels secretly.
Yeah.
She makes Shinonome go out to fight and makes her place 80 turrets.
Yeah.
Goto fires 17,000 interceptors and never move from the spawn point.
The entire game is just her spectator mode. Because she got killed
Incredible.
first.
I love this theory.
It's clear that Tamao is the most important character in 13 Sentinels.
Whenever
Sure.
Tamao
Anyway,
isn't
that's
on the
about
screen, everyone should be asking, "Where's Tamao?"
Anyway, now that we've talked about Tamao as much as she appears in the game, it's time to talk about Okino.
Okino, the biggest bastard.
What an incredible character who just sucks so much.
I think he's, because you always get like these kind of like smarmy, like people who know information but they're deliberately withholding it.
I'm literally playing Tales of the Abyss right now. Yeah, exactly.
I've never seen one who was like that, but also didn't want to commit and utilize their knowledge in the first place.
Yeah.
What's great about Okino is he's technically responsible for the entire events of the story, and like in the way that, like I've mentioned in an earlier episode, kind of the prince, princess, king, and bull like ethical dilemma, where he is one of the actors who is responsible for having made this whole situation unfold. But like it literally wouldn't have been possible if he wasn't a lazy piece of shit when he was coding this software and just reusing pieces of a video game that someone else made, which is great. But then also the fact that he knows all this shit and does nothing with it, and just sort of uses his power and knowledge to be catty and court the boy who he was married to in 2188.
Like, okay,
and that's it.
Okay,
So
so
it
I
was a
respect
character
it.
you would play on Big Gay Nerds, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
literally.
okay,
I
literally.
appreciate his I appreciate his priorities significantly.
like I've said,
He's a version to fucking make deep cuts for my other podcast with Sara. He's the version of Pippa who has no interest in confronting with his shame and instead just tries to mac on all three of the other heroes in the group.
Yeah, exactly.
like I said earlier, it's totally okay if you don't understand what's going on because none of the characters do, and the ones who should know have amnesia.
Except for Okino.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, Goto has reasons for withholding information, right? Sure. Like, he doesn't know who he can trust. Sekigahara also doesn't know who he can trust, so he's trying to withhold things and keep people from interfering and from getting involved for their own safety.
And then gets amnesia and doesn't remember anything before he can do anything. And then Goto also is, like, chronologically the last story, so it makes sense. Because, like, he's had time to figure everything out, and it's only now, like, literally while the world is ending, that he is confronting Chihiro Morimura about her evil deeds. Right. So it's not like it's something he's had in his back pocket the entire time. And then Okino, however...
But continue. Ida and the old adult Chihiro are liars and manipulators who are doing it for their own purposes. But they have a further goal. Okino
just sucks.
Okino is beholden to no one. He's not reporting to anyone. He's off the grid for everyone else. He has no reason for manipulating and lying and, like, leading Hijiyama on besides the fact that he personally finds it entertaining.
Well, like, here's the thing, and what I will say is, like, for a game that is ostensibly, like, where the core thematic narrative arc is, like, yeah, we're pushing forward these genetic copies of ourselves to go repopulate a different planet and continue on humanity, very, like, you know, compulsory reproduction, Shinzo Abe, etc., etc. The one character who does not have that drive because he is gay does not give a fuck. It's great. He's just here to have a good time.
He's here to have a good time and pick on this boy that he thinks is cute. And
like, it's like, I guess I can do that on the planet, but, like, I'm not particularly concerned about it.
But, like, he has a goal. He has, like, a reason. You know, he has goals and objectives in mind, right? Mm-hmm. And he's trying to get these people to use these people to assist in that. Mm-hmm. But he could just tell Hijiyama the truth, and Hijiyama would still work for him because Hijiyama likes him.
And he knows Hijiyama likes him.
But what if instead of doing that, you kept it spicy?
Okino, people are gonna die!
People have died several hundred times over at this point.
But what if it was spicy?
What if it was, like, kind of sexy and mysterious, and I didn't tell you what was going on? And even, like, okay, so, like, when he's doing the looping shit to Ogata to find out who has the Daimos code, right? It finds out it's Minami. Like, so Ogata doesn't tell Okino what's going on because he rightfully assumes because Okino has trapped his brain in a prison and is now doing this to him. He's like, oh, if I tell this psycho where Minami is, he's gonna kill her. And then...
Or he's gonna put her in a horrible brain prison, and she's as stupid as me, which means she might not be able to find her way out.
Exactly. And so it's like, but then, like, you find out that, like, no, that was never Okino's plan, because he literally says at one point, yeah, killing the person who has the Daimos code would be useless, it would just jump to somebody else. But he never, like, says that to Ogata. Like, he just keeps acting really sinister to Ogata, because, like Saturn said, what if it was spicy?
Like,
yeah, he's like, man, I don't know. I'm not really into this Ogata guy in particular, but it would be fun if I made him think I was.
It's just, it cracks me up because, like, yeah, he could have just told Ogata flat out, hey, I'm going to dump you into the simulation of your memory, and you need to figure out, like, someone who has this key. And Ogata could have been,
and then explain what the key really is, because he tells Ogata, hey, I need you to find this key, but, like, and then Ogata is dumb. You need to tell that boy exactly what that key is.
He gets frustrated because Ogata isn't figuring it out, because he hasn't told Ogata anything.
It's so fucking funny. I think, because Okino is really, like, aside from Tatsuya Ida, who is the bastard, Okino is the other bastard, where it's like he's doing things that are ostensibly things that an agent of chaos would do, for no other reason but his own edification. But the reason why I like Okino is that it's very literally for no reason other than his own edification that he does these things, and so it's very relatable, and it's not because he's like some fucking weird creep or whatever.
Right.
He's just like, I'm here to have a good time and solve a robot mystery.
Like, he never...
I'm stuck in a simulation, I might as well make the most of it.
And, like, yes, okay, so it was not technically him, it was, he's a clone of the person who did it. Like, he never takes ownership for causing all this in the first place.
Fuck no. And that's I will say, it's the other thing that's weird is Shinonome basically is crucified existentially for having put the final spin on the ball that made everything happen. But fucking Okino, scot-free.
Like,
Gets off perfectly free.
He gets out and he's like, cool, now I get to go have gay sex with my husband, and then also we can go into the simulation again, and like I can hack it to do other things.
the
winky emoji. I love him. He's great.
The Morimuras do feel guilt for their part in the the nanomachine virus, right?
Sure, the clusterfuck, yeah.
Yeah, and Jiro's whole arc is about coming to terms with Jiro Izumi self, even though they are separate individuals.
Right, yeah.
And just
Okino does not reckon with his shit at all.
Not Okino.
He doesn't acknowledge it. He doesn't care.
He's great. He's such a great character. I love him.
Oh, I adore him.
I love when a character is a rancid little shithead, but in a charming way, and also they are never made to pay the consequences for their actions.
Never, ever have to, like, see any kind of retribution or anything. And Okino gets off scot-free. Like you said, he gets to just get married and have a hot husband, because we've all seen what adult Hijiyama looks like. Like, good for you.
And also, it's like, he's very literally that one, I think it's a Parks and Rec bit where the girl's like, I've never done anything wrong in my entire life. And then her dad is like, I know this and I love you. That's us, but for Okino.
Yeah.
Because Okino is obviously saying that and lying. But it's fine.
The thing that makes me laugh is like, yeah, he gets off scot-free because none of the 14 others like know what he did. Because he doesn't tell anyone anything.
I think someone learns that it's because he fucked up, and
you know who it is?
Made to think. Who is it?
It's Hijiyama.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
Who's not gonna do anything?
Someone finds out, but it never comes up because whoever it was who found out is one of the characters who's too dumb to do anything with the information.
Oh, it's incredible.
I love that there is literally a bit where 2188 versions are talking, and Hijiyama's like, I think your thing about using, like, copy pasting code from a video game is a bad idea. And Okino is literally like, yeah, but it's fine because you love me, so you won't say anything about it.
Yeah, that's literally the line. Like,
God, he sucks so much. I adore him.
He's incredible. It's amazing.
We hit time though.
All right, that's all 15 of the 15 Sentinels.
Oh God, 2.5 hours. Final thoughts, anyone, about this game? Because we aren't getting another chance to talk about it. This is our final loop. Okay, if we try again, we'll just end up brain dead.
I'm impressed that we didn't talk about the ending that much. Good job, guys.
I will say, I do think it's okay. This is a game where, having completed it, I think talking about the ending so much is kind of a thing where it comes to the fact where if you need to address the basic existential reality of what is happening in a given moment, you can't really do it without talking about the fact that they're sitting on pods in a planet. It's just everything comes to that, and everything that happens in the game has to happen with that in mind, so it makes sense later when you get the reveal.
Right.
So, like, I think, honestly, maybe the fact that we spent 2 episodes talking about the ending and then 1 episode talking about the entire rest of the game is maybe not optimal, but I don't think it's undeserved.
I
think we did pretty good.
I can see an alternate path where the 3 of us podcasted while we were playing.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine that. I would go then do the thing of going back to listen to the first episodes and just be pissed off at myself.
We would, or alternately, we would have to do a stream where we all play it simultaneously, like on one copy, so that we are all on the same page, and then break to do theory crafting.
Sure.
But
if they make a 13 Sentinels 2,
that's what
I would love to. Yeah. I would love to do that.
That sounds like fun, but.
It might be a fun way for you two to play fucking Virtue's Last Reward and or 999.
Yeah.
Because that is a game that similarly, it has like similar kind of like, oh, there's mysteries, and also, but instead of being branching characters, there's branching timelines and stuff like that.
You could also theorycraft at me about Tales of the Abyss, because I know that I finally bullied you into playing it. Smiley face emoji.
I started it. I haven't. I've been really busy, so I haven't actually made a bunch of progress. And I literally, as a self-own to myself, I started playing it recently because I tried back in like 2011, and the backwards compatible PS3 I have, there's a part in the game where it hard crashes at a cutscene that is like apparently right before like a major plot reveal.
Yes.
And in the biggest self-own of my entire life, that is where I stopped playing most recently, like a week and a half ago.
Amazing. Oh, perfect. You too are trapped in a simulation where you're just playing the same part of your life over and over again.
Yeah, and if I don't finish Tales of the Abyss, I'll be killed by giant robots, and I'll have to live 25 years of my life before I can play Tales of the Abyss again, and this time I have to do it. And there's just a pile of dead Saturns out in Sarah's backyard who have all failed to complete Tales of the Abyss in the requisite amount of time.
Oh god.
Okay. Here's my final thought. Okay,
yes,
so we talked about how there's the one planet that founded like super early and got out and like is like a civilization.
Sure.
Yeah.
There is another planet where there's just a canyon of ejected bodies, like just filled to the brim with bodies because they cannot get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you get like the Nier Automata sequel. It's 50 million years in the future from the end of the current one, and they do an exploration in space, and they come to a planet that's just full of human skeletons.
Yeah.
And like a strange factory underground is just constantly churning out meat.
There's a bunch of wild dogs on that planet. They're insanely well fed.
Like they started terraforming, but like everything has evolved since. Like it's gone through like evolutionary steps to become new species before the kids could get out.
Oh god.
Christ almighty.
Oh god.
I would love to play another game like this, and good, excellent.
Apparently Virtue's last reward, so please look forward to that episode at some point in the distant future. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say my thoughts on this are the closest thing I can really say is that reminds me of it is the 999 games. The I think Uchikoshi is the name of the person who writes and directs those, and he does some other stuff. He did a game called AI the Somnium Files.
Oh yeah, I want to play that too.
Yeah, so that's another one of his joints. I don't know if it's I think it's a more linear VN or a more Phoenix Wright style thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
But he does a lot of cool stuff, and I would say this game reminds me most of his VNs. And I like it quite a bit. I have, my own, like we discussed, my own hangups with like the way the combat system is implemented and what all, but like, I think for me, this is a really good VN just by merit of there's very little in it that feels purposeless. And there's very little in it that feels very like something that is very long, but at the same time was kind of chiseled down to be consumable.
Yeah.
I think in the first episode mentioned that like a game that was written like this, but as a RPG or by someone who was less devoted to keeping it streamlined, would be like 100+ hour like Persona 5 type of experience. And I think it's a testament to this game that it fits such a fucking dense plot and convoluted narrative things and all that jazz into a 30-hour game thereabouts if you're efficient about it. And also like that 30 hours ends up with you feeling like you understand what's happened pretty well.
Yeah. I think to kind of springboard off of you for like final thoughts, it is incredible to me that this game is so jam-packed with like plot twists and like tons of like sci-fi lore shit going on. And it's an extremely dense game that still has, judging by the last 2.5 hours of conversation we've had, like extremely, for the most part, likable characters who you just really kind of latch onto and enjoy their like character quirks and their interactions and you actually end up caring about like the characters themselves as much as like the plot twists. I can see a version of this game that came out that fumbled the characters, so you still have like an interesting plot, but the people involved kind of fall to the wayside in the face of the plot itself. So I think it's like really, it's really impressive that ultimately 13 Sentinels manages to kind of thread that needle of having a lot of intricate plot going on while still having a lot of likable, enjoyable, quirky characters in a game, you know, packed to the fucking brim with beautiful art and sound, you know. So like, it's incredible. It's absolutely my favorite game from last year. You know, it's a shame I didn't finish it in time for Game of the Year to give it to it, but yeah, no, it's amazing.
Just like a good Persona game, I come away sad that I won't get to hang out with these characters anymore.
Sure. It's sad that you can't...
Unless you get into writing fanfiction.
Yeah.
In that case. And it's also just like, it's one of those games, there's a handful of games that I've, you know, played in my life where it's like, if I could remove my memory of playing it for the first time, so I could play it for the first time again, 13 Sentinels is like at the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Oh, extremely. It is. I don't know if it's my favorite game of last year, just because like I have to compare it also with Hades, which I enjoyed quite a lot. But I will say, between the two of them, even though I think Hades is a game that has a more aesthetic resonance with me in a lot of ways, I think 13 Sentinels is a game that I think about more. Just because I think there's a lot of ways where it's like, Hades is a very, like, comparatively, it's not linear exactly, but it is a very linear unfolding VN with a kind of simple but conventionally fun gameplay system that you just sort of plonk away at for like 100 hours and then you have done everything. And I kind of respect more how 13 Sentinels just goes completely apeshit with the whole thing and packs that much storytelling into like a third of the amount of time.
Yeah, it's so condensed. It's incredible.
It's so dense. Every scene has so much in it. Or however that Plinkett quote goes.
It's like poetry.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
It's definitely also a game where I feel like for as much as I'm like, oh, I could do without Shu, or oh, I could do this thing different, it is a game where like the second you unscrew something, the entire thing starts to like come apart at the seams.
Like,
absolutely.
It would feel less complete. I think we talked about it in the very first episode where it's like the amount of care they go into making sure that like you know that these characters are going to end up okay in the epilogue because there are systems in place to like ensure their safety and the persistence of humanity. The amount of care that goes into each character and the revelations that they experience and why they experience those particular revelations is all so important. Even if we don't particularly like the character involved,
sure,
he's still essential to it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like how the difference between laptops and tower PCs, right? Where like in laptops, you are so constrained for space, you are taping things together because you do not have the room to screw them in. It reminds me of that a little bit, where it's like you can't replace anything in a laptop really because the entire thing is designed with the assumption that it's going to be stapled together in this very specific way. Right. And the second you change like even a small part about that, it all just comes to pieces. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, for laptops, that sucks ass. But for this game, it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Yeah. It's just, it's very impressive, ultimately, that like, to make something this dense and to have it all fit together so well, especially when you are, you know, you're halfway through the game and it feels insane, and it's like, how is all of this going to coalesce into like a coherent plot? And by the end of it, you're not confused in the slightest. Like, that is the most amazing part to me, is that by the end of this game, everything makes perfect sense, which was not a thing I expected when I was halfway through this game. Like, everything makes sense. It all fits together very well. I mean, it's a lot of, you know, science as magic going on, but that science as magic works in the context of the story, so it's fine. Yeah, no, I love this game. That's what all of this boils down to. That's what 3 whole episodes have come to, is that I really like 13 Sentinels. Shocker of shockers.
Yeah, I would love to erase my memory of this game and do it all over, basically.
I would love to fill my brain with nanomachines that erase my memory and personality, and then I am reborn as Jupiter, and then I play this game again with a slightly different opinion on it, and yet feeling an odd resonance. Oh, Takamiya, you seem so familiar. I find myself blushing.
I still love you the most, Yuki Takamiya. Please do your strong lady walk toward me. Thank you.
What we all need to do is just find a friend who has not played it yet and just vicariously live through them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you to DJ Cutman for use for background music. I found someone new to get music from. You can find me on Twitter at The Gorge Podcast. You can find Sara at radioinactivity. You can email us whatever you want at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. And again, patreon.com/thegorge. Get us to $500 for Justice League, $1,000 for the Snyder Cut. Saturn, tell us about stuff that you're doing with your life and on the internet.
You can find me at Celestial Mecha on Twitter. Ben, when do you expect this episode's going to go up?
It's going to go up on the 22nd.
Okay, so by the time you're hearing this, assuming you hear it, within a week and change of it coming out, you'll still be able to purchase, the Beam Saber first anniversary packet that some of my writing is in. There's a link to that in a prior episode, so you don't need to, redo it or anything like that. Not too hard to find. So that's the main thing I'm kind of pushing right now, and aside from that, you can hear me and Sara very frequently on Big Gay Nerds, our other podcast / my main podcast. And I currently, at time of recording, probably by the time you hear this, if you're a serial listener, we're on a short break, but I believe we'll actually be coming back with Beam Saber in the pretty near future.
Sounds like it.
So, look forward to that.
That is Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud, and you can find the links to the rest of that social media from that page. Saturn, tell them your itch.io page name.
Oh, right, I should do that. It is hellabytes.itch.io. Cool. So it's hella, the colloquialism for very, and then bytes, the measurement of data, because it's hellabytes.itch.io.
Ah,
very cool.
Clever.
Very cool.
All right.
I think that'll do it for us.
That'll do. What's our final one? What's our final?
Have we
fuck
actually
you?
said fuck Tetsuya Ida?
Fuck Tetsuya Ida.
We can do it again if we haven't.
We can do it again.
Fuck
All
that guy.
iterations of Tetsuya Ida have no rights. There are at least 3 of them, and I can't stand any of them. It's incredible. You would think at least one of these characters would have some kind of redeemable nature to them. No, it's amazing. And
I wish Tetsuya Ida a very cucked to death.
Fuck that guy. I'm glad he's in space forever. We'll never have to hear from him ever again.
Until 13 Sentinels 2, Tetsuya Ida's Revenge. Oh no!
Oh no, that's just Cooler's revenge.
Oh god.
They're gonna have to fight
everyone.
a whole bunch. Good night, everyone.
Good night.